What is good? Ooh, a little fresh crack for the live show. FFD in the house. What up? Home of the Dynasty Tinder, the best Dynasty crowdsource rankings in the industry. If you're not using FF Dynasty and not swiping over at the ffdynasty.com, what are we doing? Come over and help your boys out. Check out the site. Chev, how we doing today?
Oh man, it is another day on this side of the dirt. There's a lot going on.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Chev is gonna be moving and shaking around in some new digs. So he's got a long road ahead of him, but we're excited. Tonight we're gonna do a mock draft that's gonna start in about 20-30 minutes. We've got a bunch of questions to answer from the question queue. We got a $10 homie over in the Patreon who wanted a question answered first, so we can kind of kick it off with that if you want, Chev.
I was born ready.
Let's see here. Let's pull old boy up here. I believe the question is, I'm a serious contender this year, but my wide receiver room is a lot of risk right now. He's got Malik, he's got Rashee Rice, he's got Puka, Rome, and BTJ. I'm wondering if I should try to move BTJ for Zay. Or be more stable with two wide receiver, maybe not starting the year. I don't know if I trust BTJ in the lineup anymore. So basically, do you want Zay or BTJ? He's kind of talking about a straight up trade. What's your thoughts process there?
For me, it's pretty easily Zay Flowers in this current moment with the information that we have. I mean, I have basically talked myself into Parker Washington being 2024 Chris Godwin. So I think that could mean that he's Mike Evans, that BTJ ends up being the Mike Evans in that offense. I think the offense as a whole takes a step forward. I think we'll get a better version of Trevor Lawrence. I think we'll get a better version of BTJ. But I think that Zay Flowers is safer and still offers similar week winning upside. I think this is the best version of Zay we're going to get. Where I can't say that about Brian Thomas Jr. because he's been a top 6 or top 4 wide receiver. So I don't know that we'll get a 35% target share to close out the year that'll allow him to do that. Whereas Zay Flowers is going to be around 27 to 28% in a lower passing volume attack, but he's going to have concentrated targets with someone who's going to be force feeding him the ball. So it's Zay Flowers for me. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers has been on an upward trajectory in the crowdsource rankings. I know we all have him ranked above BTJ right now in our actual rankings. We just did wide receiver rankings. We did them a little different of just using kind of consensus rankings instead of like this tier, that tier, this tier, that tier. We kind of just took our consensus rankings and went through with kind of our biggest gaps in conversation there. So Zay Flowers is coming in here at 61 and Superflex tight end premium. And Brian Thomas is right there, right on his heels at 65. So actually it's a smaller gap than I thought it would be. Zay Flowers is actually down a little bit right now, and Brian Thomas is on the rise. And we just saw, some positive news from Brian Thomas over the last day or two. So that's kind of how volatile the market is in the streets, right? But I agree. I think I just feel safer with Zay Flowers. I think Zay Flowers is for sure locked in to a decent target share over there. And Brian Thomas could bounce right back in and be like, hey, all along, this is what it was. This is what it should be. And this is what it always was. But I feel that way about Zay already. He's got a hold of that room. And, I think the tight, likely's gone. Andrews, we'll see if he bounces back. But if he doesn't, he's for sure locked into that big number one spot with a lot of target share. And we're hoping Brian Thomas gets back to that. But we're seeing love for Parker Washington. We're seeing some love for Strange. We're seeing love for, Jacoby Myers being the veteran in the room, right? We're, potentially, how many mouths can they feed over there? Does BTJ reclaim his number one spot over there? Obviously that's what we hope it's going to be, but we don't know. So I think I'm going with Zay there to just kind of say, hey, I feel, and like, how much bigger is the upside for Brian Thomas than Zay?
Well, I mean, I feel like we might have gotten a ceiling outcome. We're not okay with the way that the Jaguars have functioned post BTJ breakout. They go and give Jacoby Myers a $60 million deal. there's a podcast, a Jags podcast that I was listening to because one of my buddies is a Jags fan, and Trevor Lawrence is on there talking about how he's, not Parker Washington, but he does talk about Parker Washington at the 30-minute mark. I'll put it in the Discord after this is over with. But he talks about how just basically sings the praises of Parker Washington, talks about how he could get on the same page with BTJ. But the important thing was he talked about Jacoby Myers and how that's the first player that he's ever had crazy, like just instant chemistry with. He hit it off immediately. And that goes in line with what they said about, what basically Liam Cohen said about the offense and what he represented to the offense. So it's really hard to even think that the ceiling for BTJ could get back to where it was if they're going to go back to using him the way that he was used at LSU and just a big, deep downfield threat. He'll have some massive spike weeks, kind of like Mike Evans, but with less, with less predictability, because we know that the slot role is extremely valuable. We know that Parker Washington is going to be involved. We know that Jacoby Myers is going to be involved. What does that target share look like? And can you get the same outcome on 18, call it 20% for Brian Thomas? I think in the projections that I'm working on right now, Brian Thomas is at about 22% target share. So can you get that same type of outcome from Brian Thomas with a 22% target share? I don't think you can.
Yeah, I mean, I was just showing the stats up there. I mean, BTJ in his rookie year was WR5, and we're like, oh, that's awesome. And can it be sustained? And can it go even higher? And last year we saw Zay be, wide receiver 7 or whatever. So I think kind of their ranges of outcomes are kind of similar. We saw 10 touchdowns from Brian Thomas. If Zay ever touched, that'd be the negative of Zay, right? Will he ever touch those kind of touchdowns? Maybe in the new system, it's a little different for him for red zone targets potentially. So, but Brian Thomas now has a lot more competition than he did that rookie year, right? Things are quite a bit different in Jacksonville.
Very, very different. And the worst thing that you can do in the situations like this is go back to what it looked like, before all of these things changed, and just be beholden to, like, I know Brian Thomas. We all know he can do that. He's 4'3", he's 210, he's awesome. But it's about the opportunity share. Matt, no, I didn't move. The camera's facing a different part of my closet now.
Yeah, but he's going to stay in the closet for now. Maybe at the next place he'll be out of the closet.
I'm not trapped in here, but I'm just in here.
I'm trapped in the closet. All right, let's grab a couple more trade questions before we hop the mock draft. We'll start at 9:00 here. Let's bring this up here. Add to stage. This question in the live question queue here at the website. You can go over there and enter all your information. On this one, we're not going to need to necessarily pull up the league here. This was just, he had an insane trade go down in the league. What will be the 101 and 27, which is presumptuous, but I'm assuming that's just a dumpster fire of a team, plus a 28-second. Guy's team is dust, is traded for 427 firsts. So I think
I gotta go 427 first.
Some thoughts on that. So would you rather have like the one higher end plus a second, or a smattering of first throughout?
I'd rather have the smattering of first in this coming class. Yeah. And didn't we talk about today doing a 27 rookie mock?
Yeah, we're going to be dropping a 27 rookie mock next week. So be on the lookout for that for sure.
So that'll be really interesting, because of the fact that, like, everybody knows that Jeremiah Smith is the next up and coming generational prospect, but there's so many other really good players in this class that, and the quarterbacks are there too. So if you're playing Superflex, then why wouldn't you want the opportunity to get 2, maybe 3 quarterbacks? Or if it's tight end premium, get 2 quarterbacks, a skill guy, running back of your choice. Running back class is really good as of right now. Unfortunately, Ahmad Hardy's going to drop out of that most likely. Hopefully he's okay, because he was my favorite. But anyway, different story for a different day. But you got tight end, so tight end premium. You got a bunch of receivers. You've got, nobody's Jeremiah Smith, but it's like saying if you could break Bijan Robinson down into like a top 5 quarterback, and another top 12 running back, and another wide receiver, and a tight end premium, like, if you're going to tear down, that's the way to do it, because you're still staying in a range. And we don't know. So there's somebody that could be better than Jeremiah Smith right now, and we just won't know until they're playing football in the men's league.
Right. Right. Yeah, no, I think I'm with you. I think I would go with the smattering instead of just the 1 and then the 28 second. I think it just makes more sense. It gives you so much more versatility, so much more, leverage of being able to have options of doing what you want with,
And
different parts of your team. And they don't all have to be picks either. You just have so many options. It's good insurance. Those picks are only going to go up in value. Like, right now, if you look at the crowdsource rankings of the 2021 first, they're 2027 first. Early are just way, way up there. I mean, so, I like the smattering of picks there. I would rather go with that. So,
also,
all right, go ahead.
27 first during peak male pattern rookie horniness could just net you a really, really good player.
Right. Right. All right. Beast Ball, he comes in here and he says, sorry, I lost the question here. Bring it back up. One day we'll have the editor doing all this, and I won't be doing this while trying to pod. But for now, I'm the guy on it. So bear with me on a couple of moments here. I'm thinking of moving on from Dart and capitalizing on his value on that. Which direction should I go? Should I tier up, tier down, open to idea? Team is very young and still a ways from competing. So we can go ahead and look at these power rankings right now. He is human cannonball, or rather.
It's
human cannonballs.
No, it's Gus.
No, that's the league. That's the league.
Ridge. Grizzly, Grizzle Plug Pigs, Guffall Ridge, Grizzle Pigs.
There you go. Sorry, my bad. That's the league. So what entering questions into the queue does is it makes us be able to jump right to these spots, kind of look at everybody's team. So you can see he's penciled in as a rebuilder. He's got Jackson Dart, Fernando Mendoza, JJ McCarthy, Carson Beck. He's got Jeremiah Love. He's got Jonathan Brooks, Chris Rodriguez, Claiborne. So your running back room is right kind of where you want to be as a rebuilder. You got a top dog there that you could get a lot of value for if you want, or you can hang on to Love through the rebuilding process. Then your wide receiver room is Lemon, Jamison Williams, Casey Concepcion, Denzel Boston, Ted Hirsch, Trey Harris. So once again, a lot of youth, bunch of picks from this draft. He's got Flournoy down here who just got some positivity. Dell, who could be on the way back. Trey Harris got some love earlier. And then he's got Stowers in his tight end room, and that's about it. Tong just sit it. But he's already sitting on 2 firsts and 2 seconds. So that's awesome. So he's basically in which would you try to tier up from Jackson Dart on this team, or would you try to tier down from Jackson Dart on this team?
I personally with
what up, Nico?
Hey, there he is. Oh, maybe not. Playing peekaboo on the internet.
He's out. He's out.
He's back.
He fakes. He doesn't fake. He thinks about fake.
So tier up or tier down from Dart with a rather young rebuilding team. What's your thoughts here, Chev?
Let me see which team has Tyler Shuck, because that's the target. That's the target. I tiered down from Jackson Dart to Tyler Shuck. I stay young-ish, even though Tyler Shuck is older than Jackson Dart. But in terms of youth, you're talking value differences basically. So that's the first person that I would try, and then guys like Cam Ward or whatever, because I want that. I'm not kind of like your what you put out with FFD 5K. Like, hey, I'm not trying to compete this year. I want an early pick, and that keeps you in that early pick range. Even if Tyler Shuck hits, so that's a rebuilder too. Yeah, I like that. So yeah, I maybe we go and see what's going on over here with old Jared Jardine.
Yeah.
Maybe we see what's going on there. Maybe you go to one of these contenders. That's my first. That's kind of the auto thing when I'm talking about when I'm looking at Jackson Dart. I wouldn't be wanting to tier up because all those guys are going to be established, proven, and a little bit older. It's not going to matter that much, but you just want what I'd try Justin Herbert. I'd try Bo Nix with the injury, but Tyler Shuck would be the one because I feel like you can get some sort of plus. And if somebody's really horny for Jackson Dart, then Katie bar the door.
That's right. Yeah. So I don't mind trying to, in this situation, like you said, probably more of a tier down and add extra to it.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, that's the move for this particular roster of what he's trying to accomplish. Like when you talked about that on the show the other day, I was like, I like the philosophy behind that. So you're not worried about trying to add contending pieces. You're just trying to add pieces that aren't going to lose value over the course of the next 2 years. And then hopefully when it all comes together, you are in complete control with a bunch of picks and a roster that's ready to contend going in like 2028.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, I like that. Big. Whoa. Big Co's got some sound issues going on there in the background that are really loud. So every time I bring him in, I'm shooting him back out. Sorry, Big Co. All right. Move on to another question here.
Yeah, I'm looking at the chat's going crazy right now. I don't see Love being an impact like Genty. We can move on to these questions. I'm just going to read.
No, you can hit the chat up. We only got a couple minutes until the mock kicks off, so I don't want to jump into another question here because I want to give it some time. I don't see Love being an impact like Genty. So, look, in a way of I don't think anybody thought, or at least most people, especially from our perspective, there was a lot of people who were not viewing Genty as the impact that he had last year. And I thought it was a really solid year in a really piss poor situation. So, I could see it being very similar, right? Or am I?
No, I mean, here's what we know that there's noise in terms of what his workload is going to look like. We didn't have those questions with Genty. I do think that Love comes in and he offers something completely different in that almost Saquon-esque style of just being able to change directions and make people miss and hit the home run play. And I mean, Ashton Genty would have been capable of those things too had he not been in a complete just dog water situation. So I don't see any sort of thing that would make me believe that he's not going to be an impact guy. I think he could 1000% be RB16 in points per game or whatever the case may be, or even better than that if they're just not dog shit. Like if they're not as bad as the Raiders were offensively last year, then he could absolutely do what Ashton Genty did last
year. Yeah. All right. There was another one in here. Big Rice Balls. If you guys had Olave and Tyson on the same roster, what would the move be?
Oh, it depends on what your team is. I mean, honestly, just hold both of them. That's why would you want to get out? Like Olave is almost 25, almost 26, coming off a career year, led the league in air yards last year on players with at least 300 routes run. I was just looking at that before the show. That's why I know that. But yeah, I don't see why you would move off of either.
Yeah.
Like, are you asking like what to do? Because that's because this is a difficult question that we need a little bit more. We need a little bit more context, please.
Generally, I'm just going to hang on to that unless you're like wanting to make a move and saying, hey, I don't really want to roster both of these guys right now on the same team, but I like both players a lot. So I'm just going to kind of see how this goes. And I don't think that they're, if it goes well and your worst case scenario is Tyson and or Olave is Devonta Smith with an AJ Brown kind of situation for Philadelphia, right? If we go back to something, kind of a similar setting there, right? I'm not saying like as far as, I think the Saints are going to run a lot more plays and run a faster paced offense. So that's in favor of the two wide receivers there, but I think both are really talented. So I don't really have any problem with that. I'm not seeing that as a big issue unless you really want to make a change.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, we just need a little bit more context, just because I want to make sure that if it's both of us, we're just keeping both of them because they're going either one kind of depreciates in value and you have to hold him, or one appreciates in value to where you're like, oh, cool, I can get more than what I bought in for, and I could go get someone else, use it as a piece to maybe tier up another position. There's just nothing. There's no reason to just move one just to move one.
Yeah. Rucksack, what up, man? He says, who would you prefer in Dynasty, a Dunze or Burden? Where do you go with that one, Chev?
You know where I go with that one.
You going to Dunze?
No.
You going Luther Burden?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I've got them ranked back to back. Right now I have Rome ahead of Luther. I know, I think right now there's, concern for Rome being honest about his foot, of saying like, this is kind of the new normal. And I think that honesty probably got him in trouble with, some people and their thought process when, you talk to people who are kind of in the business of foots or, orthopedists or whatever. They, most of them say this is normal and not a problem. It's just like, I think it's being a little bit misconstrued of like what his honesty was. Like, it's not a problem for him anymore. It just is. This is the way the foot healed. This is the new normal for him. And I don't think it's necessarily a hindrance. So I think generally people have now for sure, and I think already have put Luther ahead of Rome for the most part. I just go back to kind of what we were seeing in the beginning of last year. I think this is a coin flip. I think the safer bet is just betting on Luther Burden there. But I think for me, what Rome is and what Rome profiles as, I think he can be a dominant WR1 in the league. So I have Rome one spot ahead of Luther Burden. But
I understand it.
Yeah,
I understand it. I just, like I said, a number of times, I think.
Am I okay here?
You're all right. You're all right now. There's a lot of humming going on.
I mean, my AC's kicking behind me, but I got up and turned it down. It's the same AC that's on every week when I'm in here. You don't hear it now?
No, we're good. We're good.
Okay, good.
All right, Chef, continue with your Luther Burden take there. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. I think he's got Rashee Rice-esque yak upside, and that creates a pretty safe floor, and he can operate out of the manufactured touch role. So if I can combine what Jameson Williams represented for the Lions with Ben Johnson and some of the safety and utility of what Amon-Ra does out of the slot for the Lions, like I think that's kind of the perfect blend. And I see that being a little bit safer than Rome and them not quite being able to get on the same page as far as the back shoulder goes, as far as some of the red zone stuff goes. That's where, like, we haven't seen 2 years in, we haven't seen his skill set, what I think he's best at in the league. We haven't really seen him do, and he was awesome last year. So that's where the ceiling for Rome Odunze is, and I think that they'll start to work in some more of that. Like you said, the first 8 weeks before he got hurt, I mean, he was up there with some of the big dogs. So the talent is there. I just don't know that they're going to. I don't know if they're going to build it around him. Whereas I feel really confident they're going to build this shit around Loveland and Luther Burden, because tight end mismatch in the vein of Brock Bowers and Trey McBride and Yak Monster, who also can create explosives.
Right. Yeah. Big code, Luther or Rome, if you're moving forward here.
I mean, I think if I just had to pick one and just the safest play, I'd probably pick Luther. I think Rome's great, and I think it's going to be, like we talked about last week. I think the pie could be just the three of those guys getting the targets every week between those two, and Loveland. I think most people would right now, for some reason, I feel like it's probably like 50-50, and I don't have no problem with that. If you want to take Rome over Luther, take it. I think for Luther right this second feels a little safer, but 3 weeks in the season, Luther could be 5 for 50 and Rome could be 7 for 80 and a touchdown every week. We don't, and it wouldn't surprise anybody if that flipped. I don't think Rome's going to be a 5 for 50 kind of guy. I think he's kind of be like more like a 4 for 80 kind of guy. But if he's 7 for 120, you know, like I think the offense is going to ascend. I think it's going to be pretty awesome. So if Rome's out there and he's healthy, I think he's going to be doing awesome. I think it's, you know, I think your bet, your equity, and all those players is pretty safe. And then, you know, you put them all together, and like we end up saying a couple times a year when we figure it all out, stock up to the quarterback. If you're arguing about 2 or 3 weapons, which one's the best, and you got good legitimate arguments, stock up quarterback. You know, if you got the system, you got play calling, you got this, you got that. It's Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is the answer.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. That's the one. That's it, Big Co.
That's the answer. I like it. I like it. Oh, big rice balls. He says Loveland over Roman Burden. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what everybody says.
All right. So we got the mock kicking off here. We got Jamar Chase, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. Josh Allen going at the 103. Gibbs and Bijan at the 105. Drake May at the 106. Puka at the 107. And Jaden Daniels at the 108. So off to a little bit of a clunky start there, just managing a couple of things. Apologize for that. We had Big Co coming in late with some sound issues, and then we had some editing issues on the side here, wearing a lot of hats right now for the boys. But we got the mock rolling. I did want to get to Matt B's question here while this mock sets up. Is price a sell high, or is it a good wait and see and maybe sell during the season if he starts out hot before Charbs? So Jadarian Price is do we like the price? If we acquire, are we trying to then come back and sell? Are we staying away? What do we think about the Jadarian Price?
I'm not a price guy, so I don't. If you could get more than what, you know, if you can get in for more than what the 1.6 is worth, get out for more than what the 1.6 is worth, cool. I won't fault anybody for doing that whatsoever. However, if he gets off to a hot start, we just talked about Rome, who got off he was basically the wide receiver 3 overall through the first 5 weeks. We get off to a hot start like that, you are going to have to practice some serious discipline to be willing to unload him at that point, because football's being played. It's the first thing that's in front of your eyes, and you're going to be looking at that, like all those green boxes and those ones next to RB, you know, RB5, RB4, RB1 through the first few weeks of the season. It's going to be real hard to convince yourself to give up on or to get rid of a rookie, but you might be able to get somebody. Like last year, when Emeka Egbuka got off to the hot start, I gave up him in a second for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Mm-hmm. So that's the type of thing that you might be able to do if you wait till football's getting played in the season.
Yeah. Big Co, any thoughts there? Right now we have at the Superflex tight end premium side of things, Jadarian Price coming in at 87, right around guys like Concepcion, Javonte Williams. He's RB20. Baker Mayfield's right above him. Travis Etienne's right below him. So
that
go ahead,
feels fine.
Right. At that price tag, fine.
And in a startup value, Jadarian Price, fine. What Chev was saying is if you can get what 1.6 is supposed to be worth, that's, you know, you could if you have Price on your team right now and you had a rookie draft a month ago, 2 weeks ago, and you got him at 1.5, 1.6, I'm sure you could go find a guy who thinks he can win a championship that might need a second or third running back that's going to pay up, right? Even if you got to give Price in a second and, you know, a decent wide receiver and you get his first round pick next year or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure you can unload Price to somebody, maybe not a Seattle Seahawks fan that's a Sharps guy, but let's be honest, there's not a lot of Sharps guys, right? I'm a Sharps guy. It's a pretty empty bus over here. Right. But that nobody likes Sharps until all of a sudden Sharps is healthy again. You're like, oh my God, he might be healthy. Yeah, because when he was playing, he was good. Anyway, I think that if he's RB1, RB3, RB5 in the first couple of weeks of the season, Sheb's right. Yeah, that was a great trade he made to tear up to St. Brown. And if you could do something like that, but at the same time, if he's crushing like that, maybe the Seahawks are like, oh my God, what do we got going on? You know, I like the idea of Seahawks running backs.
Yes.
I love their scheme. I love their defense. I love their coach. I love everything about what they got going on, you know, other than it's the Seahawks. But I mean, they're pretty badass. So right now they got the moment. Obviously, they're champs. We talked about it last year coming in. They had some momentum, and nobody expected them to grab the quarterback and go win a championship, but it happened. But yeah, I mean, I could let go of price for, about what I don't have to be like, I got to turn a profit or I got to get the 1.6 next year for it. If I got a mid or, if I got a first round pick for price next year from anybody but like the best team in the league, if you want to do that, that's fine. Don't give him away for like the 111, 112 kind of guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. Sharbs maybe should be a buy right now then. All right. Well, we kicked this thing off. I left off at the 108 before we answered that question. That was Jaden Daniels. And then at the 109, we had Amon-Ra St. Brown go. Then we had Brock Bowers, Caleb Williams, and Lamar Jackson kicking off or rounding out the first round. And then Trey McBride on the wraparound for Vardo, 92. And then at the 202, we had Justin Jefferson, then Neighbors, Genty, Hurts at the 205, London at the 206, Burrow at the 207. So Mano Mitch double taps quarterback. Then the next two guys, they double tapped running back at with Bijan, and then the 208 Love, and with Gibbs at the 104 and Hampton at the 209. Matt, he goes 103, Allen and 210 Mahomes. So we got some bunch of double taps on the back end with same positions. J-Mo, he went CeeDee Lamb at 211, nice value there. And then Herbert rounds out the second round at the 212 spot. And those guys started with the 1 and 2 started without the quarterbacks or the running backs. They both double tapped or both went wide receivers with Chase and JSN. So it'll be interesting to see how J-Mo kind of plays the rest of this draft out here. He hasn't hit a quarterback yet, but Tay Dalla, he wanted to grab himself a quarterback, and so he got Herbert, which I really like. The third round comes in with Tetaroa McMillan kicking it off at the 301. The 302 is Loveland, and this is tight end premium Superflex, of course. Jackson Dart at the 303. We answered a Dart question earlier. I actually do want to go back to that at some point because I was having trouble pulling up the right screens. Achan at 3.4, Warren at 3.5, Pickens at 3.6. So Bubba is off to a hot start with the receivers. We got Cook at 3.7, then Trevor Lawrence at 3.8, Olave at 3.9, Taylor at 3.10, and Bo Nix at 3.11. Now, again, if you're just joining us and new to the channel here, we do have a podcast that goes out, so that's why I do try to say a lot of these names to start off with and the round and the pick number that they got with. So if you're listening on the pod, you can at least get an idea of kind of what's going on here. All right, anything really jump out to you guys to start this draft off? Tay Dalla here, he was the guy at the 101 spot. He started off with Jamar Chase. He went Herbert and Purdy back to back in his next two picks, and then has Kenny Walker as his fourth pick there. So, fun start for him. And J-Mo, he punts the quarterback once again. So he's got JSN, CeeDee Lamb, Bo Nix, and Egbuka. So we'll see how he plays quarterback kind of at the 5, 6, 7 spot here. Boys, anything that really jumps out to say like or dislike on the start here?
Well, go ahead, Jeff. Who is this? Well, I don't have my contacts. Let me zoom in real quick. All right.
The 3 wide receivers, Puka, London,
Bubba. Yeah, Bubba Lowe. Like what's going on here. I'm interested to see what the pick is here in the 4th round, because of the fact that that's a real strong wide receiver room. It's aggressive. And you got a lot of built-in, baked-in value year over year. So if things go wrong,
Puka, Drake London, and Pickens for those that can't see it.
That's a 2017 start right there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's real sexy. So I'm interested to see Garrett Wilson sliding down here to the 4th round. It's kind of interesting. I mean, we all think that he's in line for probably the most solid quarterback play he's had since that one half of a season with Aaron Rodgers.
Or the start of the season with Fields last year, not maybe in the solid play category necessarily, but a lot of target share.
Massive target share. 14 points a game before he got hurt.
So my call out is Justin Herbert at 212 and CeeDee Lamb at 211, Patrick Mahomes at 210. I've been, for weeks, I'm like, oh my God, guys, you got to be able to stomach trading back, because the first 4 picks in the second round are like first rounders. If you don't if you're a Love or Hampton running back in the second round kind of guy, we just go all the way to 212 with guys that are worthy of being first round picks.
Yeah.
If you could take Jaden Daniels and Lamar Jackson and those guys in the first round, Herbert's a first round pick too. You just don't have to take him there, right? So that's that second round is just so good. Every time we do this, I'm like, golly, the second round picks are just so good. And then I was expecting Neighbors to slide down even farther than 2-3. Been reading a lot on the Twitters from all the different doctors about his foot and his knee and his gait at a softball game and all this. And it's like, I don't expect him to be ready for week 1. And I told Casey the other day, I'd love him not to play to week 8. Like, what the only thing the Giants need to do is not rush him back and make him pull a hammy or tear his ACL or this or that, like just don't rush him back. But like, if I could get Neighbors sliding down in the second round would just be so great for me. If I'm in a startup, the cheaper I can get Neighbors, the better. It's not like a long-term issue. It's a problem for week 1, but that's not how I build my dynasty teams.
He also has a toe issue, kind of.
He do got hammer toe.
Yeah.
If we could call Deion Sanders right quick and check on some toe problems and how much that hurts.
Well, I mean, he lost them. So
yeah.
Well, I'm just, but he dealt, but yeah, exactly. Obviously, now that he's 50, but like, he played through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of guys have played through it. It's just I almost am more concerned with that long term than potentially maybe even the ACL, and it's almost something that I think gets stepped over a lot of the times. I mean, not like concern, but something that like has the potential to nag throughout career.
Well, yeah, that's what happened to Patrick Willis. That's why he ended up retiring early.
Yeah.
If it progresses and continues to get worse, eventually the pain gets so bad that there's like, I can't football anymore.
Yeah.
I guess
I'm not saying that's where this is headed, guys.
Yeah.
Don't hear
something to monitor.
Scenario.
Right. What I'm saying is we're very concerned about the knee, but the toe is the thing that I feel like could be something that in a few years that we're still like dealing with here and there, missing a game or two because of whatever. So certainly interesting. We just answered the Rome Odunze Luther Burden thing, and in this particular mock, Rome goes 5-3, Luther goes 5-6. So kind of to pick back up there, we left off at the 4-1 spot. Agbuka goes at 4-2, Harold Fanning goes at 4-3, Nico goes at 4-4. Wouldn't mind spending a minute talking about some Nico Collins. Tucker Kraft at 4-5, like that a lot. Garrett Wilson at 4-6, Chase Brown at 4-7, Breece Hall at 4-8, Carnell Tate at 4-9, 4-10, Travion Henderson, 4-11, Darius McConkey. At 4-12, we got Jordan Love. At 5-1, we've got Bucky Irving, and then 5-2, Quinshon Judkins. 5-3, as mentioned, Rome Odunze. 5-4, Jordan Tyson. 5-5, we got Brian Thomas. 5-6, Luther Burden. Rashi Rice at 5-7, Marv at 5-8, CMC at 5-9 from Killer Potato Fish there. And then AJ Brown at 5-10. So anxiously waiting to see what JMO does. He goes no QB there. And now we got the turn from Tay Dollar. He's going Zay Flowers at the 5-12, and we'll see what happens at the 6-1. But Tay Dollar has addressed his quarterback room. We'll see if maybe a tight end goes here, or if he goes Zay Flowers, Devonta Smith at the 6-1. And here comes JMO back with a Dak Prescott right there. And now it's like we've got no problems at all. We're just chilling.
You knew it was going to be one of the older veteran quarterbacks. I mean, with Jordan Love off the board, you're looking at, I mean, you could have gone Tyler Shuck, maybe you go Cam Ward, maybe you go. Personally, Jared Goff's my favorite. It's the safest. We talked about this on a show. Like, guys, we got to put some respect on Jared Goff's name. I mean, every year it's just 4,530 to 35 touchdowns. Book it. And he's still in this range. He just went off the board right there. So Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield's actually, I think, a round behind these guys. I have them like all back to back to back in my rankings. So,
yeah, I got Dak a little higher than those guys. I just think he's just got a little bit more. Like, he's kind of like Baker, where the upside could be a little bit more gunslinger-esque, but Goff is been just the quintessential fantastic through
outscoring them.
Yeah, I mean 3-0. I mean he didn't outscore Dak last year, but 305 last year, but 336 was, I believe, what was his Dak just at last year? 351. So, or sorry, 323, and then 351 in 2023, and then of course missed a bunch of games in 24. So I got just a little bit higher ceiling outcomes on Dak, so I don't mind drafting Dak before Goff, but then guys like Goff and Baker are kind of how I'm making up and playing that like 6th round, especially if I just want to take one through those first 6 rounds, take one quarterback that is through those first 6 rounds, which I very much like doing. But if you're going to allow me to, there's certain spots where it's like, if you're going to give me Mahomes, or if you're going to give me Hurts or Burrow at 2-7, that's a whole lot of fun, or Herbert. Like, I got to take those guys, even if I have one already, probably.
Right.
I don't mind doing that. But for the most part, I like kind of doing, and Bubble here is out here he's just naked as a jaybird with his quarterbacks right now. He's just sitting out. He's just sitting out here.
He's a Sam Darnold candidate.
Yeah, he's getting some sun on his wiener right now for sure.
And Tyler Shuck doesn't make it back to him. Naked as a jaybird.
So yeah, some I like where a lot of these builds are heading. Big Rice Ball here. He kind of had taken a similar approach without getting as much attention from us. But he went on St. Brown, he went Genty and Achane, then he went 2 rookies right there, and then he's taking Cam Ward. So he's skewed to quite a bit of a younger build here with St. Brown kind of anchoring things down, and then he goes Kyle Pitts kind of right there at the 7-4. So I really like what Big Rice Ball's done there to start it. That's kind of a build that I like. I probably would have maybe tapped Baker there below Cam Ward if I would have started that build, because 30, still got some time with him, and then figure out my third later. But I like where the build's going, and we'll see kind of where he's like a Daniel Jones candidate potentially, or like a Malik Willis maybe a little later, and kind of see what happens there. So I like that build. I like where he's at. I like that he's youth. Amon-Ra St. Brown can anchor him down at the receiver position. And if he needs to end up going another way because he's, not going to be as competitive this year for whatever reason, because Tyson and Cam need one more year to really establish footing, or, maybe Genty's not quite at the highest peak to carry him through some weeks or something, like he could always, Amon-Ra St. Brown will fetch him kind of whatever he wants to do. Not that he would need to necessarily sell him, but I like the beginning of that build. Where are you guys at here with some other builds?
I like Hoodie where he started, where he got Caleb, Justin Jefferson, and Colson Loveland at the 3-2 turn. And then Lad McConkey, Judkins at 5-2. So, and then he comes back and he gets for Mendoza and then Shuck back to back. So, the rookie quarterback question mark, and then shores it up with a, potentially rising, I don't want to say star yet, but, Shuck has got a chance. I was watching some Shuck the other night. I told you a couple weeks ago, the Saints were pretty much the team that I was the most far behind on, because I just wasn't watching them down the stretch when Shuck was making his moves. And just the Kellen Moore system. I don't want to take anything from Shuck. He made some throws. He made the throws. He made the runs. Like when you were talking earlier, right when I got on here, you're talking about the tear down from Jackson Dart to Tyler Shuck, and Chev was talking about that. And not only do you stay in an age bracket, but you also stay in an athleticism bracket. You stay in a rushing points scored by your quarterback bracket, going from Jackson Dart to Tyler Shuck. But the watching the video of Shuck and hearing the commentators during the plays, just play after play, it might be you hear the guys, the color guy come in and say, on this play here, or the scheme here, or the formation with this, or basically calling out Kellen Moore's X's and O's to draw up guys to be wide open. And you just gotta, whenever you see this happening, you have to lean into. We talk about pace of play, but Kellen Moore is just one of those guys. There's not many in the league. Just he's got the mentality for it. And now Shuck's delivering the ball where it needs to go. The whole Saints offense is a stock up. The question about what do I do with Jordan Tyson if I got Tyson and Olave on the same team, maybe enjoy the hell out of it, because if everything goes up another notch for the Saints, like, I mean, that could be 2 starters right there every week on a high octane offense,
Yeah, this one kind of just goes along with what you're talking about right now. I'm swapping a 27 third for an early 27 second, enough to move down from 1-2 to 1-3. I want Tyson.
Yeah.
Or enough.
Yeah, just got it. Yeah, sure. If that's what you want to do. I mean, that's a lot of times you can't even get that much to move, but I mean, that's you're obviously these days you don't know if they're coming up to get Cornell Tate or Mendoza, the quarterback, but if that's what you want to do, go for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I like that.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, like you said, getting off of Mendoza right there to go from 1-2 to 1-3 would be the I know Big Co, you like him too, but and not to say that Chev doesn't like him, but that getting off the quarterback and not I would maybe want to see what my quarterback situation is like there before I go saying for sure.
Yeah.
And generally, I don't mind that if you're saying, hey, I want Tyson anyway, I'm good, then that's fine.
Well, of course you would. Yeah. So Tate and Tyson both go before Mendoza in this mock, and I think in startups a lot of times, so at least Tate could go in front of Mendoza in a startup, because everybody's got their plans and quarterbacks are all out here to be gotten. But in the rookie draft, everything's, if you want Tyson, you should definitely trade back from 1-2. And if the guy snipes you for Tyson, you got paid to get Mendoza or Tate, you'll be okay. Right? Yeah. Like that's how I wouldn't stay at 2 and take Tyson just because that's my guy. Most of the times I wouldn't want to do that. But that at least at this point, probably 7 or 8 people out of 10 won't Tate over Tyson. And then most people are really going to entertain that quarterback. So like I think it's worth moving your 3 up to a 2 in the rookie draft next year to trade back 1 spot and gamble on Tyson not being there. And if he's not there, then you got paid to go backwards and take, now you got Tate and Mendoza, and you could move back 1 more pick if it doesn't matter to you.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's pick back up here. We were going through the 6th round here. Parker Washington going at 6'5" seems very high on Parker Washington there. He's somebody who, is
1 spot before T. Higgins is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, right. You got to be, for me, like there's a good, at least handful of guys that I would for sure have to take before him, even if I'm the biggest Parker Washington guy going. And that's, I like, the T, the Waddle, the JMO, the Lemon, like I'm for sure taking all those guys. I would, probably take any of those not any of those quarterbacks, but, Shuck, Mendoza, Ward, got to take those guys. I mean, maybe that's not lining up for your build and how you want to do it. But hey, I mean, we could be looking back at that next year and being like, damn, that wasn't high enough for Parker Washington. But
well, I mean, it kind of makes sense it makes a little bit of sense with his build. I can't excuse it, but I can understand it. He's going crazy jag stack here.
Yeah.
With Trevor Lawrence. Whatever. And, but you don't have to do that in the 6th round because nobody else is going to do that.
Right. That's really the kind of where that comes in. Like you probably could have at least waited until 7-8 to take Parker Washington if you wanted him that bad. But you never know. If you go in and you get your guy, and that's what makes Dynasty a whole lot of fun there. So Dak Prescott was at 6'2", Barkley was at 6'3", Goff at 6'4", Parker Washington 6'5", T at 6'6", Javonte Williams at 6'7", Waddle at 6'8", Cam Ward at 6'9", Jameson Williams at 6'10", Fernando Mendoza at 6'11", and Lemon to round out the 6th round. ET and Shuck kick off the 7th. Then Scatabo, Pitts, Laporta, then Mayfield, then Price, Tootin, Murray, Darnold, Jacobs, and Stroud. So Big Rice Ball comes back with Ward. Then he comes back with Pitts. Then he comes back with Bryce Young as another quarterback and Ty Simpson as another quarterback. I don't feel super secure in my quarterback position at this moment if I'm him.
No, well, he worked himself to a spot to say I got to take Ty Simpson at 9-4. Like, you don't have to do that. And like, that's way too early in a startup draft. Like, Ty Simpson's not. I don't know what his ADP is off the top of my head, but it sure can't be 9-4. And if it is, that's
pretty
fine.
high.
It can't be. I'm obviously taking. Obviously, I'm taking Malik Willis over that. But like, I don't know, man. I can't do Ty Simpson at 9-4 right now.
No.
If things work out the way the Rams want them to work out, he's not playing for 2 years.
Ty Simpson 9-6.
9-6.
There it is, right? We're dead on the button. But that's Malik Willis up at 8-3 right there. Daniel Jones at 8-8. You know, I don't have a problem if you want to say I'm not. If you don't want to be a Daniel Jones guy, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. He just ripped his ankle off, and he's got to come back and prove it. But I don't know. I feel like I'd have to do something else other than Ty Simpson at 9-4. But
yeah, I mean,
he's average at 9-6.
I'm with you. That's probably not the button I'm pressing in those areas. For me personally, that's probably a little bit too high. But I mean, again, if you're going back to kind of a build where you're not really worried about this year per se, if it goes your way, great. If not, then whatever. Whatever. That could be a really nice value as far as long term for.
Well, like you said, his whole team. I mean, he's got a young team. St. Brown was his first pick, and St. Brown's no rookie anymore. But everybody else is very, very young. Kyle Pitts seems like he's been in the league forever, but he's only like 25. So he's got some time on his side with that build. He doesn't have to be in a rush at all.
Yeah. Justin Kane says Washington is going to be better than Tyler Shuck. Hey,
which Washington?
Parker Washington. So,
we're comparing wide receivers to quarterbacks now.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said,
this guy has been killing the Saints and doesn't like the Saints and clearly has a problem with the Saints. So,
I have no problem if you want to be a big Parker Washington guy, that's fine. And if you want to say, hey, I'm out on T. Higgins because he always gets hurt, that's fine too. Like you don't necessarily have to be. Parker Washington he's the it guy right now. He's the hot guy, and I understand now he's going to be. There is no ADP for Parker Washington. It's like every draft is so different. Parker Washington could go into 6th in this draft and in the 9th in this draft, right? In the next draft. So like there is no 5, 6, 8, slot for him to jump into. Everybody's going to be different. The passion level of Parker Washington's all over the place. And I like him. I like the idea a lot, but I think if you've been doing this long enough, you've seen injury give you volume down the stretch and it not be there the next year in all different positions.
Timeout.
Right?
Timeout.
Go ahead.
Timeout. We're talking about Parker Washington, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, what are we just talking about? The injury to Travis Hunter?
Injury to Travis Hunter, to whatever was going on with the
Brian
Thomas Jr. He was hurt. His hands didn't work. His head didn't work. I think he was upset because Travis Hunter got drafted. Right now it seems like out of Jacksonville camp that Brian Thomas Jr. is the best thing ever again. Whatever was going on in Jacksonville last year, they had to trade for another wide receiver. They had to bring in a veteran, from the Raiders, bring in a professional wide receiver, Casey's boy. It's like, I'm not saying Parker Washington isn't going to pick up where he left off, and I'm not saying he wasn't awesome down the stretch. I'm saying that we've seen injury give you volume before, and that volume not pick up week 1 where you left off. The coaches are saying it should be there. The coaches are saying he got better. They're moving
I think
around.
generally that's the problem with Jacksonville right now is like all these guys can't be as good as coaches are thinking they are. So how is it going to work? And Chev, you got the crazy eyes right now. So what do you want to get off your chest?
I mean, like, I don't know what. So how much more volume do you want to see for Parker Washington? Weeks 9 to 17, wide receiver 16 points per game.
No. I don't need to see any more. I don't need to see any more than that.
I'll let you cook. You gotta let me cook now.
Well, you asked me how much more I wanted to see. I don't want to see more. If we can get the same, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, Like we're talking about role usage, historical usage with Cohen in the offense, like the slot role. He's a 60% slot alignment during that. And it goes up to like 17 points a game if you just push the sliders out to like week 11 through 18. So not only did the offense function at a really high level, but they were winning football games and games that they had to win. And they were going to Parker, Washington to do that. And you think that they're going to go into 2026 and be like, well, I know that worked. And I know that we were really good when that happened, but we're going to try a bunch of other stuff. I just can't get down with that idea. I'm not saying that Parker Washington, like right now, I've done it, like I'm working on the projections for him, and I've got BTJ and Parker Washington at a similar target share, about 22%. Both of them bringing it, like being at about 22%, with Jacoby Myers being around like 17 and Britton Strange being at 15. I'll pull it up here in a second. I'll tell you exactly where they are as far as that goes. But I just can't see NFL teams looking at the success that they had. They're already talking about giving Parker Washington an extension, like going into year 3. And I think that Brian Thomas goes back to kind of what he was doing at LSU, big outside X guy, like the Mike Evans role. So it's going to be high ADOT, high variance with a lack of a target, like with a lack of a safety of a target floor. So that's why I can't, like, the difference between what Brian Thomas Jr. did his rookie year and what Parker Washington did over the back half of the stretch is the organization was winning football games. They won the division. They got into the playoffs. They were just playing out the string with a lame duck coach for Brian Thomas. He had 35% target share. That's how he finished wide receiver 5. Nobody thinks he's going to get a 35% target share this year. So that's why I struggle with the fact that, like, when people say, man, well, it was the end of the year. And it's like, well, the context is it was the end of the year for the last 2 months of the season where they had to win every single game. And Parker Washington was that guy.
But what happens if they come in week 1 through 5 and Brian Thomas is that guy for him?
I mean, that all could be that.
Like Brian Thomas had 2 touchdowns last year.
So is it going to be the high concentration of targets? Like, I'm just saying, I'm looking at what Cohen's done with his offenses historically, and it's like there's a guy that usually has a pretty safe role. Yeah. And is it the Brian Thomas style guy, or is it the Mike, like, or is it more of the Parker Washington, Chris Godwin, the slot role? Like,
well, is it Mike Evans or is it Chris Godwin? Who I don't think we can answer that question right now. I think my general overview is, like, I think that there'll probably be spike weeks for all of those guys, but there's 3 or 4 guys on that offense who are all really good. And, Parker Washington in the 6th round, I probably can't take him, but if he's in the 9th round, I got no problem taking him, which is kind of where the conversation started. And Brian Thomas at 5'5", probably too high too, just because, again, like, if you got a professional wide receiver in Jacoby who had some good weeks. You had Brian Thomas who, had a few good weeks, but for the most part something was definitely off last year. And then, Parker Washington came out and had some big games and big moments and looked the part. And by the way, like, I know none of us really love Travis Hunter as far as, like, getting a rollback, but, like, he's probably going to come in there and have some targets in some games, right? So it just, to me, there just seems like a lot of diversity to handle throughout the target share and the ecosystem there. That makes it hard for me to super flag plan on either one of any of those guys. And so, go ahead, Big Co.
I let Chef cook, and he just cooked us a meal, right? That was I was literally I enjoy what Parker Washington showed us, and I can agree 100% that the coaches should be like, this guy right here was doing work. I'm just saying that I've been doing this for a long time, and I've seen volume not carry over to the next year due to whatever went on in said team, all the different examples that we could go dig up right now. But you're not wrong. They were winning, and he was looking awesome. And I've seen some people make the case that where Parker Washington wins is exactly what Trevor Lawrence needs. So you're not wrong. What we were discussing was pushing him up to 6'5", and how whether or not that was going to work, the gamble if that was going to work out. And I think it very well could. The first thing that Casey said was this time next year we could be like, that wasn't early enough for Parker Washington. Parker Washington could come out there and be an 8 for 80 guy every week, and he should be considering what we saw. But they do have other good wide receivers on the team, and they got a tight end that they like. For everything, you could go around and pick up the offenses that you think are getting better. Obviously, Liam Cohen, we said this last week or 2 weeks ago, like basically same thing that the Bears and Ben Johnson needed to do with his quarterback, right? Get the monkey off his back and get the media out of his quarterback's face, right? It hadn't been that long for when we're talking about Trevor Lawrence. It's been a couple years now, and everybody's like, Trevor Lawrence sucks. He's not this, he's not that. Well, Liam Cohen comes to town, throw away a couple of trash years for Trevor Lawrence, and he looks like a completely different quarterback in year one of Liam Cohen. So where can they go next year? Where can this thing get better? How can that pie get bigger and better? I think it could. I think it should. And I think if you just say, hey, Liam Cohen, I went off on the Kellen Moore stuff, if Liam Cohen's one of these guys that can really dial it up, what he did with Trevor Lawrence last year, we don't know if that was magical or not, because everything that it was magical compared to what we had seen from Trevor Lawrence previously, right? So if that was the only person that was going to get that done outside of a Kellen Moore or Ben Johnson, the Jags have what they have the recipe for success on offense, and can they build on that? And I think Parker Washington should be in the middle of all that. I completely agree with you, Chev. I'm just saying it's not a foregone conclusion the man's going to get 10 targets every week.
No, there's only like 3 receivers.
Well, to what this guy over here just was basically like, BTJ needs to succeed if he doesn't get goal ball. Like, if Brian Thomas returns to somewhat of form and starts taking away longer drives because he's back to doing some things that Brian Thomas does, that overall has to hurt Parker Washington, right? And not to say that Parker Washington can't do those things too. I'm just saying that's like, that's kind of what Brian Thomas's MO has been throughout when he was good, right? So, is there enough pie? I think as long as Trevor can return, I think all of them are fairly safe assets. I just don't know, where the ceiling is. And as long as they all can, or at least Parker and BTJ can get you around 10 points a game, then they don't have, they're not like the high, hey, it's 5 or 6 and then it's 12 and then it's 5 or 6 and then it's 12 and then it's 20 and then it's 5 or 6, where it's like you have to worry about that they're in your lineup each week. If we can kind of remove that and be kind of more safe, hey, we're floating usually around 10 to 12 and they spike with touchdowns or the big games, then they're both fairly safe assets, right? I mean, at that point, maybe Brian Thomas would be a little overpriced, and in this case, then Parker Washington would probably also be a little overpriced right here.
He's definitely overpriced at 6.5. I was just saying, we're talking about real football reasoning behind the why behind stuff happens. I can't get down with the fact it just might change. And yes, I understand you've been doing it for a long time. Yes, I get that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying when you're talking about an organization, the context of what happened, they don't just turn away from that.
Sometimes they do though. Sometimes they do. And I'm not saying that's the right thing. Right. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, but you're like, what are we doing here? This works so well. And now you're like, what the hell is going on here? And that's kind of sort of out of our out of the control. I think from every signal that we're getting from Parker Washington, it's all very positive, and that the good news is that he's not going to fade back into the background, right? No. He's going to be a part of what they're doing heavily, or at least medium. And then, intermediate stuff is all Strange and Myers. So that, if Myers has, 6 good games throughout the season, and Strange has 6 good games throughout the season, really good games, it's just going to really limit the upside of everybody on the offense.
Well, either way, this back and forth was good, because right now Parker Washington is everything in Dynasty chat circles. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So just volleying back and forth about the different ideas and perspectives on it, it's good to kind of flush it out and see how everybody feels about it, because, Parker Washington's being compared to, I was trying to trade for him in a league, and I got the player A, player B stats, and the player A was Parker Washington. Player B was the guy from the Roland Medunze versus what's his name on the Bears?
Luther Burden.
Luther Burden. And he was like, would you rather have player A or player B? And player A was, Parker Washington, and his stats were better than Luther Burden. And it's like, that's what his logic was to defend his asking price for Parker Washington.
Yeah, it's a rough go to try to get a hold of Parker Washington right now. It sucks. It really sucks.
You're right, Chip.
Yeah, I mean, would we be letting go of Parker Washington for a Denzel Boston right now?
I absolutely would.
Like, you would trade or you would trade Parker Washington for Denzel Boston?
No, I would trade Denzel Boston. I would acquire Parker Washington for Denzel Boston.
See, I'd go the other way there. I'm just trying to look for rookies as far as equating it to rookie picks.
I mean, that's good. I mean, that's enough right there to say that Chev's got a first round pick. Chev would give up a first round pick for Parker.
You can't get him for a second. I have
right.
Yeah.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
I have too.
That's what I was kind of aiming at with the price points of everything kind of going on there of kind of, alluding to what you were saying, Chev.
Yeah. It sucks. It's really pissing me off.
Well, there's a shout out to the OG Austin Abbott. What's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, Austin.
Colts are 17-0 next year. All right, let's check out the back half of this draft here before we get back to some questions over on the website. Let's see here. Let's see how Bubble O, because I feel like we talked a lot about his start here. He was the guy who started with Puka, Drake London, Pickens, Chase Brown, Luther Burden, and then Javonte Williams, and then he comes in and gets Baker and Stafford, right? That's kind of saved that. Now, he comes with Shador at 15-6, and again, this is a mock, and we're only going 16 rounds, and you may have to figure out a quarterback situation if somebody gets hurt. He gets David Montgomery there at 9-6, which I like that. And then goes Strange, Barner, and Gunnar Helm. So a fine room there with the rest of, if you're going to build a room like that as far as your wide receivers, and, I think the running back room is okay too. And, you're going to have a weak spot somewhere. And he managed to come in here and get some nice stabs and okay targets there for the tight end position. And then he finishes with Kamara and Romeo Doubs and gets, J.K. Dobbins in there. So I think Buffalo did a good job there of putting that team together.
Yeah, I think if you look at the Javonte Williams pick, if you could swap that out and give me Tyler Shuck, in that pick in the 6th round, and you could find, if you swap out if you put a quarterback in the Javonte Williams spot, then later on when he was picking, he let RJ Harvey. He could have got RJ Harvey in the 9th round. He could have got Bachel Tootin or Jadarian Price in the 7th round instead of picking Baker Mayfield, etc. Josh Jacobs was 7-11, Javonte Williams 6-7. If I'm Puka, London, Pickens, Chase Brown, Luther Burden, like that's the 5 studs right there. If you want to call them, I mean that's 5 really good ball players right there to start your dynasty team. I'm gonna go 1 round earlier. I think Baker Mayfield is a nice backstop. Even if he would have taken Tyler Shuck and then Baker Mayfield, just to say, Casey was trying to say,
that would be the only change that I definitely want to take Baker in the 7th over a bunch of those guys that you named, just to backstop my quarterback position.
Right, and I would go around earlier and throw Shuck in there.
But also then you're poking around for your RB2, where I think you solved it with Javonte Williams right off the rip, and then you back that up with David Montgomery and Dobbins is certainly going to be a viable option. But yeah,
every draft's going to get a guy that says, "Hey man, I really don't mind winning this year." You know what I mean? And this, with the Baker Mayfield, Matt Stafford, David Montgomery, Strange, and Barner, and then Dobbins, he never shied away. Got some youth, Gunnar Helm. There's some younger guys in there. Puka and Drake London are not old. Luther Burden's young. But he's certainly candidate to be in the money. He's definitely making the playoffs, and he could be in the money. I will have to say I don't know if I can get Pickens at 3-6. I don't know if I can click that button. I'd probably rather click a Jonathan Taylor or hit a quarterback, maybe even a Mecca Buka, just for the dynasty asset moving forward safety level. of what I got to spend there. 3rd round pick. I don't think I can take Pickens in the 3rd. I can't do it.
Very, very, very good point, Big Co. Yeah, the 3rd, like just the range of outcomes for what Pickens could be. I mean, last year he was in like the 8th around this time, and then we shot him up to like the 6th. Now he's in the 3rd. It could just go.
I can handle the 6, Chef. I can handle the 6, but at 3,
I would love the 6 right now, based on like.
Of course, obviously,
but
basically, go ahead.
Your point about just getting a more stable asset, getting a quarterback, getting a Trevor Lawrence, getting Brock Purdy and Bo Nix. I think Brock Purdy's going to be one of my favorite bets to lead the league in touchdown passes with Mike Evans this year. With the whole gang coming back, I'm going to get some real good odds on Brock Purdy leading the league in touchdown passes, because that's one of the things that he does. So him going there, like I could do that. I moved Purdy ahead of Pickens in my rankings. So yeah, I'm 100% with you there. It's just super duper risky. And the ceiling, I do believe that he does have a top 3 range about, like he could get to where Amon-Ra St. Brown is performance wise. I don't think he'll ever get into the 1st round value wise until he's getting paid $40 million a year and he's got the quarterback and he's got the offensive environment. If those things happen, but that's just a pure run out to make him a top 5 dynasty wide receiver. And I don't think we're going to get
there. Yeah. Killer Potato Fish said he's winning the championship this year. Killer KPF here. He's got Gibbs, Hampton, and then he went Olave, Nico, then McCaffrey at the 5-9 spot. Then he took Goff and Kyler, Casey Concepcion, Swift, McLaurin, Evans, so some old OGs. Then Ramondre, and then he hammered the tight end spots on the way out, and then he took Deshaun in the 16th round. So obviously some volatility potential at the QB2 situation there. But I mean, as far as, you know, points in your lineup, there's an awful lot of points in your lineup that are possible if everything stays on course there for you. You know, maybe in 2 years you might be looking around and having to, you know, when you build a team like that, you know, you're probably going to look around and say, hey, I'm going to need to sell Gibbs in a year or two to kind of restockpile this, you know, cabinet here, because I took a Nico who in 2 years will be, you know, 30 years old or so. McCaffrey will be 32. You know, Kyler Murray, who knows? Evans and McLaurin will be, you know, potentially out of the league at that point. Stevenson will probably have lost his job at that point. You know, you got Henry and Goddard, who are, you know, older tight ends in their 30s right now. So, and Swift will be, you know, roughly around 30 years old too. But hey, for the goal of the game is to win. So you came out here, and if you can win a chip in the first 2 years and then come back and rebuild it within 2 more years, you're going to probably be in the positive for, you know,
just keep all your capital. Keep your draft capital, just in case it goes sideways, because that's what happens with old players. I mean, it happens with all players. It's an attrition based game, but with this type of roster construction, you are high risk, and the reward is all those old guys could be wide receiver, running back ones, could win you a championship, and then who cares what happens from there? But don't sell your picks early.
Yeah. Rookies to riches. He said he went productive struggle here, and he likes his team. He went Bowers, Neighbors, Dart, Henderson, Adunze, Williams, Scatabo, Pearsall, Stowers, Higgins, Coleman, Penix, Skylar Bell, McCarthy, Brashad Smith, and then Joe Lee to end it. So, you know, like you said, you're probably not going to you have some potential continuity issues here year one, and then you got to maybe figure out some quarterback situation here down the road. But you know, you've got good pieces, and that would be, hey, you can, if things start going right, you could trade into trying to compete this year, but for the most part you're aiming for, you know, to have a good pick next year and have a nice core. So yeah, I don't mind kind of what you did there, if that's your mindset, which is typically kind of my mindset going into startups, is like, hey, I'm okay sitting out the first year or two to build depth and acquire some picks throughout. And then, hey, after that, now I've got a pretty strong core of youth. I've got picks. I don't sell any picks for the first year or two. And then after that, then I start going and selling picks, maybe acquiring some older guys to just round out things and kind of see where I'm at. So rookies to rich, that's a fun start. Any other teams you guys want to touch on here before we go back to answering some questions?
I can tell it. Go ahead, Chef.
We talked about Big Rice Baller. I really like the value on. I'm warming up to the idea of Quentin Johnson this year. I really like the value here. Like that just, if everybody in the off, well, I mean, we heard what McDaniel said. Hey, everybody in the wide receiver room is poised for career highs. I mean, we all thought that Quentin Johnston was dead meat when Trey Harris showed up, and he proved that wrong. And he's performed really well. And prior to the hamstring injury, I mean, he was really solid. I mean, he's over 22% targets per route run. And I think go ahead.
He was killing it.
Yeah.
He really was. He was killing it.
And I think that we could kind of pick up where we left off. I know when Joe, like, it also kind of coincides with the Joe Alt injury, and they've really done the work to fortify their offensive line. So I think he's the big beneficiary. We've always had the big yak threat. I think in Miami's tenure, in McDaniel's tenure with Miami, they were top 3 or top 5 in yak 3 of the 4 years that he was the head coach, with the 1 year, with 2 outliers basically being 2022 and 2025 when Tyreek got hurt. So I think that's the skill set that really behooves and fits best for Quentin Johnson, is the catch and run stuff. And I think that this is going to be his best opportunity to do so.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, worst case scenario, Quentin Johnson's out of there and on another team next year. And, probably could be, if he could be consistently a team's wide receiver too, that could be.
Want my tinfoil hat theory?
Sure.
Okay. Pickens either plays his way out of Dallas or talks or doesn't play his way out, like doesn't get back to Dallas. Chargers do have the 5th-year option, but what if they do some kind of weird voodoo magic where they give up like a 3rd-round pick and sign Quentin Johnson to a much cheaper contract than what they're going to have to sign Pickens for?
Yeah, I feel like there'll be a lot of interest in QJ kind of moving into next year, especially if he can, kind of show you that wasn't, an outlier of kind of what we saw of how he could be used last year. So
it's crazy. Like, so we all thought he was trash after his rookie year. It was just bad, right? I won't say trash. I won't disrespect him and say trash, but it was real bad.
Don't we all us? I stick by my guys.
It was bad. The last great. 2 years have been almost identical, and on a per game basis, he had averaged more yards than Ladd McConkey last year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's going to have to do with how he was being used in the offense for sure, but he definitely can, at the very least, have that sort of role kind of moving forward, right?
Yeah,
so, I'm not saying he's in no way, shape, or form am I saying he's Mike Evans, but Mike Evans has made a living of getting behind defenses, right?
Yeah.
Scoring
just
touchdowns.
Big, physical, fast.
And Quentin Johnson's real fast.
Yes.
So it's going to certainly be interesting in this offense what the passing volume kind of looks like and where the target distributions kind of go. But that I like that theory. That's a fun theory, and I think there's going to be, if Quentin Johnson just kind of repeats of what he had from last year, I think there'll be a lot of interest, and it would be interesting and probably behoove the Chargers to sign him to the 5th-year option and see what they could do on the open market potentially.
Yeah, like that's just kind of, I've been tossing that around as I was working through the Chargers stuff.
I got a quick productive struggle story before you move on, Casey.
Okay,
we got into quarterbacks. 3 years ago, I did a productive struggle startup with Colt. He invited me into a league, and I drafted Trey Lance first in like the 6th or something, because that was buying low on Trey Lance 3 years ago. And then I drafted Brock Purdy the next 2 rounds later. That was maybe the year after his arm fell off and everybody thought he was dead. And then 5 rounds later, I drafted Sam Darnold because he was on the team, and I didn't know if any one of those quarterbacks was going to work out. And so I got killed. I got crushed the first year, but that's not the point of the story. I won the last 2 years. The point of the story is I got lucky. The point of the story is not that I went from production struggle, went year 1 and didn't do good, and then I won 2 years in a row. The point of the story is I got lucky drafting all the quarterbacks for one team, and they go split up and become starters for me elsewhere. And I'm looking at the ADP here, and I see Mac Jones in the 14th round.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
And I see if there was an audience, they would throw tomatoes at me. I see Anthony Richardson in the 17th round. I see Justin Fields in the 17th round. I see Jalen Milroe in the 21st round. Like, if you're going to productive struggle, you don't need any old wide receivers or running backs on the way out. You don't need a 35-year-old tight end on the way out. You need to take shots when everybody else is all cheap. You need to take shots on the quarterbacks on the way out. And that's, that's what I'm going to be doing in those 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 rounds. I'm going to be taking those quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Yes, Will Howard.
I just wanted to call that out.
Absolutely. I mean, you've been
Will Howard. I like that.
Yeah, you have been consistent. You guys have been consistent about that. Yeah. I love that idea. And it's kind of, I've adopted that in the start. Like, hey, I'm gonna grab a Will Howard. I'm gonna grab, Mac Jones. The delayed, not denied. If Malik Willis hits, it's gonna be like Mike Tyson in the '80s, just straight knockout.
That was Malik Willis, went to become a starter already. So he was on all my startup teams last year, and I picked him up on waivers on a couple short benches. He's on all my FFD.
He was dead.
Teams,
he was dead.
So I picked him up I got Malik Willis.
Will Levis.
Levis.
Yes.
Levis, a great call. Just go pick up these quarterbacks that are left for dead and see what happens.
I mean, Will Levis Will Levis and AR. Because you
Sam Darnold just fed my family, bro. I got that man. I got him in every league. When he popped up, Chev, you don't know, you're not in this league. When he first popped up to be the starter, like in one of our other leagues, I got sent a 2nd round pick for him, and in one of our home leagues, and I immediately sold him. And I was like, I got a 2nd round pick for Sam Darnold. But on my other leagues, I didn't really need a quarterback on that team, and it turned out I really did. I had Anthony Richardson, funny enough, and he went to shit on me, so I really needed the Sam Darnold. But anyway, like Sam Darnold really paid off for me a few years ago. Mac Jones started to pay off. Purdy got hurt. Mac Jones was in there last year, and now he's on some of my teams, and his value, he's in the 15th round here. He was left for dead last year, and that's it.
JP, you're not listening to what he's saying. All those other guys were pipe dreams, and they've now gained so much value and been usable and fed families like a Sam Darnold. And I don't know if Malik Willis will be good or not, but like the value turnaround has been so good. Mac Jones came in and played really well. Regardless of what you think, if it's just Shanahan or not, he's going to go somewhere else next year, and his value is going to rise. You'd never have to even play him. Doesn't matter. Like, you're missing the boat here, dude. You're missing the point. You're missing the forest through the trees.
Daniel Jones just did it.
They're dead until they're not. Daniel Jones just did it. Right. Exactly.
Kyler Murray's in the middle of it, and Chev and Kevin Casey and Chev and I were like, Kyler Murray, cheap. Only if he's cheap. And Casey was like, well, Kyler Murray. And like, Kyler Murray's already in the 7th. He ain't even played another snap yet.
Right. Exactly.
Because he's got a job. He got a job
from nothing. You could sell him right now and get out, and it's fine. And you rebounded. You're fine.
We have him on a team,
bro. Deshaun Watson could do the craziest thing this year.
For real.
Deshaun Watson could come back and go get you a second by the 4th game of this season.
If his year-long sabbatical to just focus on getting massages and stuff has brought him back his football powers, guys, the 16th round. Or wherever I think he's in like the 13th in our ADP.
Who?
Deshaun Watson.
We said 16th tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying like, but in our like the
16.
Yeah.
16
so
in our ADP. 16-9.
That makes no sense.
It does.
All you have to do is just pick Deshaun Watson, and if you have a viable starter that you can get in the 16th round.
He sucks.
Or he sucks.
Or he
and
sucks,
you're
but
just
who
like, hey,
cares?
it's a 16th round
Yeah.
pick for a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
Dude, listen, I know that we all hate Tua Tagovailoa. Maybe he's never going to be good. Maybe he sucks. Maybe he's just the best player in practice ever. But like, he could be somebody who's just like that. Like, what if he comes in and takes the job from Penix this year, doesn't let it go, and goes and throws for 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, and maybe he has 15, 20
happen.
picks or whatever. But it could certainly like, it's just not like
it could
things
happen.
I mean, Jacoby Brissett was valuable last year. You know what I mean? So
Jacoby Brissett helped me win a championship. I did have Bijan and Gibbs, but I didn't have hardly any healthy wide receivers, and all my quarterbacks got hurt. Deshaun Watson, I traded for him the year before on the cheap because I thought he was, and Brock Purdy had been hurt the year before. And I plugged in Brissett all year last year.
Yeah, I mean, hey JP, we have been holding Trey Lance for a while, and maybe that'll never happen. And hey, you got stuff stuck holding the bag there, and
I still have Trey Lance. Trey Lance is a great call, actually. He's so far down, he's not even on these lists. I'm drafting Trey Lance this year for sure.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
For free.
Here's the thing. These are all assets that could ascend in value, and if they don't, then eventually you can cut them. But in a super flex league, you would rather have a bunch of lottery tickets that can increase in value versus like, well, I know I could get 9 points from this guy this week just sitting on your bench, because nobody wants to trade for that.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to need a quarterback, and if one of those guys turns into a starter, Davis Mills, that's another great call. He's in a contract year. These backup quarterbacks are in contract years. Mac Jones, Davis Mills, Will Levis, all those guys, or younger quarterbacks that haven't quite gotten their opportunity yet because Aaron Rodgers just won't fucking retire. Like, you make a bet on those guys. Yeah, Will Howard. I mean, I'm not a Drew Aller guy. I'm not a Carson Beck guy by any stretch of the imagination. But it's so unknown out there, and Jacoby Brissett's holding out or whatever the case he's doing. I know he's reporting to minicamp that those guys could increase exponentially in value, and now your team's worth more and you can get more because you just rostered a quarterback. No, it's not going to work out all the time. Nobody's saying that this is a foolproof strategy.
Right.
We just pointed out like 7 guys that it worked for, and you want to focus on Trey Lance, dude? Come on.
Yeah. Well, and they've all had different, like, there's all different paths for all those guys. Like, Willis played a little bit and then simmered out, and then it didn't work because the Titans were awful, right? And like Trevor Lawrence is on the opposite end of that, where it was like he was fizzling out and he sucked, and now people just don't want to get rid of their priors, and they just want to stick with it instead of adjusting to the new information of like, oh shit, maybe Cohen can coach this guy, and maybe Trevor's bounced up back too high, and maybe he'll kind of regress a little bit back to the mean. But Trevor's a fine quarterback. Like, everyone just wants everyone to be Patrick Mahomes, and that's not what's going to happen. You're just trying to find some value, right?
Well, I say it every year that we don't have 32 starting quarterbacks. But let me read you a list here. I started this whole conversation, finding a way to tell you I won the championship 2 years in a row from a productive shuttle. So this is the list of quarterbacks that sit behind Brock Purdy and Sam Darnold on this team that's won 2 years in a row. I did draft Jalen Milroe last year in the rookie draft. Jameis Winston, been sitting on my team the whole time. Trey Lance, been sitting on my team the whole time. Hadn't started a game for me. I drafted him before both of those two players. Anthony Richardson, I drafted him in the first round of the startup at 112. I went back-to-back Bijan, Anthony Richardson. Richardson has killed me. Mitchell Trubisky, been on my team for 2 years. Tyrod Taylor, been on my team for 2 years. Zach Wilson, got him for free. Like, there's 5 quarterbacks right there where I've gotten 0 out of, and I've rostered them, but I dug through the trash and came up with Sam Darnold, right? Yeah. So like, and that's the whole point here. And like, I'm sure I could have found somebody to put on my team instead of Tyrod Taylor, but like every time Tyrod Taylor did get on the field, he looked fine. And I was like, you know what? I don't have a great quarterback situation. I'm getting it done. Let me just get all the quarterbacks that I can get. Anytime a quarterback hits the waiver wire, I scoop them up.
Yeah. Yeah. And and we again, I just, this system works in a bunch of different ways. Like, Sam Darnold just stayed cheap because nobody wanted to believe what they were seeing on the Vikings and that he was still trash. Right. And Daniel Jones has had a similar kind of situation. So it's just like, people really, really hang on to the priors and just that, especially like quarterbacks, especially that like there's no way that they could like get into a new situation and a new system and be better
Great
than.
point. Great point, Casey. Sam Darnold just won a championship. He's the ADP 706.
Yeah.
He just won the Super Bowl and had a fantastic season by all accounts. The Vikings are sitting up here going, who did we let leave our building? And Sam Darnold is 706. And I, like you said, he got this 2-second ship. He got like, I couldn't let go of my priors. I love cheap quarterbacks, and I took a 2nd-round pick so fast for Sam Darnold because that was found money in that one league I just mentioned from the home league. Because I didn't pay nothing for him. I got a 2nd-round pick in that league. Rookie picks go into auction dollars, so that 2nd-round pick is actually worth more than just having a 2nd-round pick. I could cumulative go with some other dollars, and still 2 years later, Sam Darnold goes off, crushes with Vikings, and then goes to Seattle and wins the championship, and he's still in the 7th round. My bad, Chev, go.
Oh no, I was gonna support your point. Not only did they let one quarterback that went out and balled out loud, they let two. They had Daniel Jones too. They had 2 guys in the building. That's all I was gonna say. Is they had 2 guys in the building. They let go for 9, and now it's just hell. Kevin O'Connell could be on the job market next year.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's transition to a couple more questions here and get off this. But I do want to do a quick read for Prize Picks. Prize Picks, America's #1 sports app. The app is really easy to use. Just pick more or less on a few stats and lock in your lineup. Prize Picks is available in most states, including California, Texas, and Florida, but of course not limited to. So check where you're located at. I know we're in Charleston, South Carolina, and it is a lot of fun to use here. Download the app, use promo code HMA, and new users get $50 in lineups instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. So we got a lineup here. Let's stop sharing this so it's not back there. And let's go back to this screen so Jason doesn't get mad at me here. But right now we got Freddie Freeman. We had the more on him. He's currently in the green on that one. We had Jared Jones. We had the more on 3.5 Ks. Brandon Marsh, we had the more on 0.5 hits there. And then we had Reed. Let's see here. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Not even going to pretend. Detmers, sure. Demers, yeah, sure. We had less than 6.5 Ks. So it's that easy. And we played the four flex there. So we only have to hit 3 of those guys, and we still get paid out. Or if we hit all 4, we also get a bit better of a payday. So promo code HMA, $50 new users get $50 in lineups instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Go check out Prize Picks. A lot of fun stuff with the World Cup coming up over there too. Like, hey, I don't know a whole lot about baseball, but like, hey, I can see what these guys have been up to, and I can kind of put together some stuff, and it's been, decent. World Cup's coming up, a lot of fun there. Basketball finals, a lot of fun there. You're sitting around watching this stuff, you might as well throw a couple bucks on it. We got UFC 250 coming up. That's going to be on there too. Hey, that's not my thing, but it's other people's thing. So, hey, even if the World Cup isn't your thing, it's fun to throw a couple things on Prize Picks and have some fun while you're watching some things that you have no idea what's going on. So, anyhow, all right, let's get back to the show here for a little bit longer, and then we'll, I don't know if we'll quite get to all the questions, but let's jump back over there real quick. And I wanted to go back to one that we started with, and then we didn't quite. I didn't quite do it exactly how I was feeling it here. So let's go back to, this was the dart guy, right? And his question was, he's thinking of moving on from dart, capitalizing on the value at the moment. Which direction should I go? Should I tier up or tier down? Open to ideas. And we kind of looked at his team, looked at the power rankings, said, hey, you got a young team. You're kind of productive, struggling. I like where you're at here. We like to tier down and add some other players. And Shuck was kind of somebody who Chev kind of pointed out here. But if we go over to the offer finder here, we can go ahead and select Jackson Dart and then pull up some trades. And now, a lot of these aren't necessarily getting a quarterback back, but, like, would you right now, would Jackson Dart to Bo Nix, that's kind of staying in the same range. But if you wanted to go grab like Egbuka and a 2 or something, or Warren and a premium, and a 2, those could be some options to get off of the quarterback. But in general, I'm going to want to tear down to a quarterback play and get like a young receiver who hasn't necessarily been, like, if I could tear down to like, Shuck, a pick, and can I get Higgins or something along those lines? You know what I mean? Like, just how can I get the tear down, get a pick, and then grab another player that I, necessarily maybe hasn't broken out. It fits my build. That's kind of where I want to go with that. So any other quick things before we move on?
Yeah, Team Trade Frenzy doesn't really have a QB2, and he's listed as a contender. I'd go knocking on that door to see what young asset I could grab over there for Jackson Dart so that we can stay in that productive struggle.
Yeah, like he doesn't, that's if you don't want to grab another quarterback in there, like you could go after some players on that team as well. So that's kind of the decision you want to make. It puts you in a tough spot to not get the quarterback back, especially because you're not super deep in the quarterback game there. You'd be relying on JJ McCarthy and Carson Beck, but that's going to put you, probably closer into the running for a higher pick next year if you don't have a quarterback, which you're probably going to be there anyway. And you already have a couple of first rounders. So, hey, why not? Like, what does Jackson Dart equate in first rounders, right? Could I go trade Jackson Dart, a first rounder, and then like what could I get back after a 27 first? So I have extra bullets in that gun. And then like, was there a quarter? Like, you're not getting a 27 first and Shuck, right? You think that's a possibility?
You could definitely offer it.
I mean, the state of the condition of that team, also being a rebuilder, I don't know that he'd be willing to part with his first round pick to get Jackson Dart.
Yeah, but you got to try.
I was gonna say you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Michael Scott said that.
The problem is, what did he say?
He said Michael Scott said that.
The problem is the Shucks, the people. If you're in a startup right now, Shuck is cheaper than I think it probably should be. But if you're in a current league and you're like, hey, I'm trying to get Shuck from the guy who had him last year and saw him score all those points down the stretch, that's the problem. Because again, I was behind on my Tyler Shuck. I was behind on my Saints. And as I was paying attention to it and trying to catch up, and I'm looking at the game log and I'm watching I wanted to see all the Shuck throws, and then I wanted to see the highlights and this and that. And, again, like I said, first thing I said on here is how impressed I was with what Kellen Moore had going on. But like, if you look at Tyler Shuck's game log from down the stretch and you throw in those rushing touchdowns, man, like, you're not getting Tyler Shuck off of somebody's team for late 6 startup type price. It ain't happening. Like if the guy that has him wishes he was Jackson Dart, you might as well try to get that first round pick next year. I could get on board with that. I don't see any reason why we didn't see enough. I don't see any reason why you can't look at Tyler Shuck now after what he did last year and what Jackson Dart did last year and say that any one of them has an advantage going into this year, really. And if you could, they might not be your opinion, but that's my opinion as far as like the quarterback throwing the ball, not Jackson Dart running around getting a little bit more aggressive with his legs. And if that literally hurts him in the long run. But like, if you put those two guys on the same playing field for what's going on inside the helmet and the ability to see a play and get it out, and then you look at Kellen Moore and the X's and O's that he has and what is going on with the Giants, then you start, I don't want to say you, then I start to lean towards, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Jackson Dart is getting outscored by Tyler Shuck early and often in the season.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
may be a very, very hot take,
yeah,
but
I don't think so. I don't think so.
It's super hot unless you just
Dynasty startup value. It's very hot.
Yeah. But
sure.
I mean,
they're worlds apart in value on the paper right here, but I don't think it's like if somebody's got Tyler Shuck, they're holding him like a Parker Washington owner. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's no football's being played, so everybody's stuck to their priors about what they believe, and we got to let ball tell a story. I'm 100% with you. I don't think that there's a huge chasm. I mean, Jackson Dart's rushing upside, but sure, he had Tyler Shuck had 4 straight games with at least 6 carries. Like
Yeah,
that's
Tyler Shuck was after the bye week. I was like, I just
Yes,
looked
sir.
into all this.
Yes.
After the bye week, Tyler Shuck came out. They were like, hey, this is what we need to do. And then as soon as he gets a couple of runs like that, now the defense changes. Now everything that he gets, now everything the defense is trying to do, now they got that zone read, he might actually keep it. Or a naked bootleg is in the playbook now.
Yes.
Or a scramble. And then so now the defense has to be like, oh, we got to account for that bladed grass way over there. And then the slant is a little bit more open. You know what I mean? So like it all plays together. Everything that Jackson Dart creates for himself to make it easier, Tyler Shuck was doing the same thing. Now, some of that Jackson Dart in trouble in the pocket, stay cool, calm, and collected. Tyler Shuck didn't have all that. But Tyler Shuck was letting it rip in the context of an offense that was practiced to make people open. And the reason, like the Liam Cohen stuff, Chev, the Ben Johnson stuff, the Sean McVay, the Kyle Shanahan, it's not an even playing field for every quarterback on Sunday.
Correct.
Yeah. Other quarterbacks are put in better position for success. And right now, Tyler Shuck is in one of those positions for success. He has a cannon for an arm. And if he's seeing it and he's ripping it and he's running touchdowns in, like there's
Jordan
fantasy
Tyson
points.
He's got Jordan Tyson now. I said he's got Jordan Tyson now.
Bro, that was like that. That's the Jordan Tyson and even the deep Oscar Delp stuff. Like some of these plays, if you just look at if you just go back and look at the highlights and you just say, show me Tyler Shuck's highlights on YouTube. So obviously it's eat up with Olave, right? For sure. Olave was doing work. But some of these plays are the guys I've never heard of. And that like you plug in Tyson and Delp to Kellen Moore's offense, like this dude was throwing like the offense was a beautiful thing in motion. It was his first year rookie quarterback that had to take over for Spencer Rattler. Like it was really, I was impressed. And I know I'm late to the party. I'm 4 months late, but I'm catching up and I'm like, wow, all stock up Kellen Moore, stock up Saints, stock up Shuck,
Yeah,
I'm in.
I think if you're
Saints right now,
I think if you're kind of going equal, kind of not tearing down, like I would try to maybe and feel more comfortable about my quarterback situation. Like if I could go from Dart to Hurts, I got no problem with that. Like if we're just kind of staying kind of even neutral, like and just saying, hey, I know maybe Dart's going to be awesome and it's fun and it's cool and it's whatever, but like I know I'm good with Hurts and the value's down a little bit. I don't mind that as
for sure.
Lateral move. Okay. Let's see here. Questions in here. This guy says, I'm looking to fill a solid wide receiver option to fill in for Neighbors, at least at the start of the year. When I asked about trading Brees for Zay Flowers and ETN, you guys recommended not trying to pivot to the trading the QB, and I think I could get a deal done. Want y'all's thoughts first. Trade Jared Goff and KC Concepcion for Garrett Wilson and an early to mid 27 second. I know I don't love getting rid of Concepcion, but I don't hate it either. If not, what wide receiver would you go after? Thanks in advance. Love listening to our podcast. Keep up the great work. So what are we thinking here, guys?
I'm still.
So he's saying he wants to trade Goff for Concepcion for Garrett Wilson in a 27 second.
No, you said wait. Goff and KC Concepcion for Garrett Wilson in an early to mid 20s. No.
Yeah, Chev's right. That's a no.
So here's his quarterbacks. He's got Drake May, Fernando Mendoza, Goff, Shuck, and Daniel Jones. So he has stacked quarterbacks.
Very good. Very good. You can do work. You are liquid in the quarterback market. That is fantastic. But you don't have to give away some of that asset power to go. You once you make one trade and now all of a sudden, you're like, all right, well, I got Tyler Shuck, which is the guy y'all are just raving about, but you got a rookie in Mendoza, and Daniel Jones has got to prove that he can play with a new ankle, a new Achilles,
Mm-hmm.
So like, I'm not itching to just go give away. I'm with you. I'm trading Jared Goff, but I might need to it's hard to get a quarterback, and now you got a bunch. So that means there's a little bit more. There's going to be at least one or two more teams that have that are missing one because you got five playable ones, 5 that can start. You know what you got, Chef?
We talked to this guy last week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked to him last week, and we were saying like use golf or use one of these guys. You can use one of these guys to get something. I don't really think. I mean, do you trade for a running back? I don't trade Brees. I'm not doing that. I'm not trading Quinshawn. Shout out to Big Co for that. Big Co said, I'm not in the business of trading Quinshawn Judkins. I'm just not doing that. That was a direct quote from one of our message threads about me asking about Quinshawn. So, I mean, you're pretty solid there. I don't like giving up KC and Jared Goff to try to get Garrett Wilson, who's your wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. Probably starts off the season as your wide receiver 2 because we're assuming. I'm just gonna go ahead and start saying that Malik Neighbors is gonna start the season on the pup, so we're not seeing him until week 5 at the end.
That was kind of his thought, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. I'm with you there, but I don't see the need to. You're strong enough to where I don't feel like you need to make this move right now. You can wait and let some people start bleeding out, and they really need to solidify that quarterback spot. I just don't think these are the moves.
Yeah, if you and like, look, to be able to move off of golf and have the flexibility to be able to go get an elite asset without having to get a quarterback back is a nice position to be in, and you can certainly do something like that, right? That's a great spot to be in. So I wouldn't rush into anything. And then furthermore, like if you're just looking to like kind of circumnavigate some things for a minute while Neighbors and you see what that's going on, like I'd be just aiming on a cheaper thing for veteran wide receivers then. Like right now, like you're in a position, if that's what you want, like veteran wide receivers are going to be super cheap right now,
Yeah.
Because nobody wants it. That everyone's excited about everything else, not the veterans, right? You just mentioned Mike Evans. Like, dude, you probably pick up Mike Evans right now for
a third.
2/3, maybe a 2-3 swap, right? So I'd be kind of more into that kind of thing. So
Terry McLaurin, Mike Evans, Devontae Adams, like those are all guys that you can get that can help you shore up your depth. Because I mean, you're in F them picks mode pretty much.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah, you can shore up your depth really quickly, and then when Malik Neighbors comes back, you're supercharged and ready to go run for a title.
Yeah, so he just said follow up on that. Should I do that trade, dude? I just relax for a second. Relax.
Look, trade horniness is real too, and I understand it.
Yeah, come get in the Discord, hop in there, and ask some questions. The free Discord for sure, the paid one, even better. To just kind of there's a lot of people in there. I don't see them all, so. I'd relax and just if I want to feel a little more comfortable right now, I'd go trade for a veteran like a Terry or a Mike Evans or just like guys who are in later rounds right now who could help you out and get through that spot. But you don't have to do anything drastic right at the moment. We'll wait until I can find the deal that I really want to put together. That just I'm getting rid of it, and I'm cool with dealing a quarterback, but like. I want to take my time and just I need to try 5 or 6 different. I need to try the whole league and figure out what I can get. These are the positions where I come in and I throw higher. Like everything I'm throwing out there is higher than I'm willing to accept, and I'm just seeing what comes back, right? Because I don't if they take it, great, but I don't necessarily even want to take it. I just want to see what on their team they got looser grips on and bad values on. That's all I'm trying to find right now. Who's got bad values on guys that I have good values on?
Yep, that's true. Slow playing the trade off of the quarterback when you're in a quarterback position of power is the way to go. I would have I'm trying to when you have 5 quarterbacks, I'm trying to trade Daniel Jones before he is supposed to play again. Potentially, if you have the quarterback quantity to not have to do that, if he comes back and he's not any good, you'll be all right? But maybe you trade Jared Goff and Daniel Jones for the same guy. Maybe you turn the fun meter up and I can give you 2 quarterbacks.
Ooh, fun meter. Oh, shit.
But like Casey said, very, very well, like to be able to trade a Jared Goff and not have to get a quarterback back is hard to find. Like you could look, I mean, you could study 4 or 5 different leagues before you find a team that could trade a legit 4,000 yard, 30 touchdown guy without needing to get a quarterback back. So you are in a position of ultimate strength here, and you got studs like you got Judkins and Brees Hall, you got Neighbors and Olave and Tyson, who we think could be a stud. You got Brock Bowers. Like you're obviously one of the best teams in the league. Slow play coming off the quarterback. I like what you're doing, and I don't mind trading golf. I don't mind it at all. But you might be able to be able to add to that and get something better than Garrett Wilson. Like Casey said, you got to go try. If that's the best you can get, I don't hate it. But don't just rush into it. When you got the power, you need to go a little bit slower and make sure it's the best deal you can get.
All right, we got about 10 more minutes here before we're going to sign off. We'll try to get 2 more questions in, and then we'll hit the rest of the questions either next time or we'll add a stream or something in here. So my running back room is stacked with 3 young studs. I also have CMC. I'm a top contender. At what price do I consider moving off of him, or should I just keep stacking cash with him in my lineup? So let's go to the power rankings. We got Sugma Dak from the back. So he's got Dak, Daniel Jones, Shuck, and Aaron Rodgers. He's got Jeremiah Love, Achane, and Hampton, and then Christian McCaffrey. Those were the studs he was speaking of. In the back of that backfield, he's got Adam Randall, Jalen Warren, Spears, Isaiah Davis, and Black. I like that. And then he's got Chase, Tet, Pickens, Ladd, Zachariah Branch, Caleb Douglas, so Surratt. Then he's got Stowers, Gadsden, Laporta, and Hunter Henry. So nice quarterback room or tight end room there. So we're seeing here it's not 3 wide receivers, so we kind of have some more flexibility there. So he's basically asking, when should he cash in on CMC, or is this one of those things where you let him die on your roster in this situation?
Well, you're obviously stacked. That's a solid collection of running backs and wide receivers, and Gadsden and Laporta and Stowers. I mean, wow. You got a couple quarterbacks too. Daniel Jones is your third. Aaron Rodgers might get you some starts. I know Casey's going to say let Christian McCaffrey hang out. I got no problem doing it either. And you could be 3 weeks, 5 weeks into the season, and you could have the worst injury luck ever, and Christian McCaffrey's not one of them, and then you can sell him to as a contender then. Obviously the only gamble you run is him getting a severe injury and going from there. But like, why would you have this much strength on your team and trade away as good as all these players look on your team at top value at their peak? The only one that can compete with Christian McCaffrey is Jamar Chase, So like Christian McCaffrey is going to outscore your quarterbacks when he's right. So I just hang on to Christian McCaffrey for a little bit and have it in my back of my head. Like if things aren't going right for some reason, if Dak Prescott's been hurt before, Daniel Jones obviously still coming back, Aaron Rodgers is 78 years old, Tyler, if all of a sudden you don't have any quarterbacks to play and things aren't looking good, then maybe I trade Christian McCaffrey then. And just like, there's no reason, if you don't have any quarterbacks to start and everybody got hurt, like, all right, like make a move, but as long as you're healthy enough to get to the playoffs, anything can happen. And Christian McCaffrey is going to give you one of the best chances to win if you can get through the first 15 weeks of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I've just been scrolling through this league here, and you got one of the strongest teams. So Chev, go ahead.
I don't think that you move Christian McCaffrey right now. I mean, there's I've decided that the way that I'm going to play Christian McCaffrey moving forward is, if for some reason he gets nicked up during mandatory minicamp or at some point during training camp, I'm off. I'm out. If we make it through healthy like he did last year, and there were no red flags, like we got the issue with the Achilles going into early, like we made it through training, like everybody's like, just wait, it'll be fine, whatever. But I'm out if we have any sort of, hey, he's going to miss some time with the, whatever. I'm out. Last year, we didn't get that. I was in. It worked out well. He stayed healthy. Elite players tend to want to stay healthy and be on the field. So that's just the way that I would play it. I think that Big Co, with what you said, I mean, especially I'm team, let's go win some championships, not let's build
Yeah.
a beauty contest of a roster.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think with what you got going on right here, unless something goes terribly wrong, let's go print some money.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's be open to the idea that Christian McCaffrey plays at a high level for 3 more years. What if he Matt Fortes this thing?
At least 2 more years.
You know?
Yeah, who knows? I
What if
mean,
he like Casey?
maybe he has a down year this year and then has 2 more after that. Who knows?
Yeah, Casey's been saying it for 2 years now. Like, just let him go play in the slot. He doesn't have to run between the tackles all the time anymore, right? So, like, he could easily Matt Forte this thing and catch 100 balls for the next 3 years, right? So, I'm okay if Christian McCaffrey, if a big deal comes my way, and I'm okay putting this message in the league and being like, hey guys, I got some other running backs, so if anybody wants to come pay, a decent price for Christian McCaffrey and send me a trade idea, go ahead, but I'm probably not trading him. If you want to come get Christian McCaffrey, come on, I'm open for business. I'll talk to you, right? I don't have a problem doing that. A lot of times I don't put the trades in the group chat. I go individually a lot of times. But like in this scenario, what I don't really want to trade him anyway is like I'll throw the hook in the water and see if somebody wants to come bring me a good deal. And being open, yes, he could get hurt and he could be out. But I mean, any other player I'm not going to name any names. Any other player on your team could get a severe injury and never be right again, right?
Yeah.
So
Jack
said,
Pill,
Hall of Famers tend to play longer. Mike Evans.
Sure. Jack Pill says he would try to do Tet and Laporta for Bowers and McBride. I don't mind. Like that's, if you want to then even go further, like the Tet team and the McBride team, the Tet.
Pickens, not Tet. Swap them out. Pickens, not Tet. I'm not trading away Tet.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was going to say. I was like, there's one glaring hole here. And it's flashing red lights for me.
The idea of going after the elite tight end is cool with me though. I like that. I was also going to be sort of a suggestion that I made, like, hey, if you want to make a move, not with CMC necessarily, but like, that'd be, Laporta could bounce back and be right up in there, and we all like Gadsden, and we like Stowers, and so, but you're set up and you're good. I like it. Let's.
This team is so good. If you go to the next one, Casey, if you want to, but this team is so good. Like I don't mind holding Pickens in this team and being available for whatever crazy might happen, because I'm going to ride those points out, because if you lost Pickens on this team, I don't want to say you wouldn't feel it, but you could get over it quickly, right? I don't know how many flex spots they got, but you got flex wide receivers, you got flex running backs everywhere. You got Chase, Tet McMillan, and Ladd McConkey. So I'm not in a hurry to trade Pickens off of this team versus if you're another dynasty team and you don't have as many assets. Like this team right here is just rich of assets. So like I could be okay with that. But like if I'm trading a wide receiver to tier up somewhere, it's Pickens and it's not Tet.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. There's some I like some of these questions that are in here. But I'm only going to do one more, but we'll either get to these next week, or we'll find some other spot to sort of answer these. But I really appreciate everybody using the queue. This is super helpful. It's really great for us to be able to pull up all this information. There's so many more tools that we're integrating into this to be able to do a bunch of different things. And roster reviews are like, basically we're kind of finalizing them right now. They're super fun, super cool. So we're excited to do that, be able to give you guys personal ones and be able to give you guys just kind of a sheet to kind of work off as well. So, all right, let's do this last one here. We've got Carter TY4. He says top team's been running the league for years because of his startup. We're now in year 4. What direction do you think this team should be? Or what do you think the direction of this team should be, rather? So we're looking at team Dr. J's here. So team Dr. J's has got Brock, Goff, Ty Simpson, Mac Jones, Stafford, Jacoby Brissett. Nice little room there. He's got Travion and CMC, Rico, Singleton, Sampson, Brian Thomas, and Trey Benson. Then he's got Justin Jefferson, Tedero, McMillan, Egbuka, Lemon, KC, Downs, Cooper, Pittman, Bell. Nice room. No Jalen Knoll, Torrey Horton, like that. Keon Coleman, Dante Thornton. And then he's got in the tight end room, Kincaid, Hawk, Juwan Johnson, Joe Lee, and Mason Taylor. And it looks like you do not have your 27 first. So Let's see who's been the top dog here. I'm gonna assume it's probably this guy. Let's expand all.
Oh, it's definitely him.
It's definitely him. Top dog over here. He's got Josh Allen, Dak, Penix, Beck, Bijan, Gibbs, H.N. Taylor. That's a solid starting bit here. He's got Puka, Nico, Rashi, Jamison Williams, T, Parker Washington, Trey McBride on the tight end side, Harold Fanning on the tight end side, Pitts on the tight end side. So that's a really solid team. I mean, the next team's pretty good too. I mean, this JT is pretty solid here. He's got 2 first-round picks. This guy has somebody else's first-round pick. So generally, I think what this fella's asking here is like, what direction does he go with his team because somebody's been dominant, and do we think that run is going to sort of end? Is kind of how I'm thinking about that.
Oh, I mean that team's dominant run is not coming to an end anytime soon. Casey and I play in an FFPC league where there's one team like that, and they were in the playoffs and got kicked out, and they got 4th place this year. They weren't in the money. Anything can happen anything can happen in the playoffs, and so all you got to do is try your best to be up there with those top 2 or 3 teams, and then hope the ball bounces your way. You got some guys that can score points. You know, I like you got Mac Jones on the bench. You got, maybe you could find a quarterback team and get something from Stafford. You have to maximize every little piece when you have a team up there like that. Like you can't. I would try to get something for Stafford. It's like, all right, well, Big Co, you can't talk out of both sides of your mouth. You can't be like, well, I got to get to the playoffs and see what happens. And Matt Stafford could be QB1, yes, but he's also QB first to retire out of everybody but Aaron Rodgers, right? So like, I would try. You got Purdy and Goff and Mac Jones, and you got Ty Simpson. So, I mean, I guess you could hold on to Stafford, and that way you got Ty Simpson right behind him. But I'd be wanting to, this. If you're trying to just try to win money this year against this dude that you got an unstoppable team and another team that's pretty good, like Christian McCaffrey, that's as good a player as any to try to do that with. So I'm telling you, just maybe get something for Stafford, but Christian McCaffrey's over here on your team too. So it's really tough to navigate your situation versus a superstar team, right? You're playing against all pros over there.
What do you think, Chef?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to load up on draft capital to try to let that team either age out or get unlucky. Like Christian McCaffrey and Rico Dowdle kind of stick out to me, and everything else, you're in a pretty good spot. You're in a pretty good spot as far as, long-term value. You've got your wide receiver room built out, and those were all guys that I feel like are going to continue to ascend. Justin Jefferson's value could ascend, like I said. No need to spend time there. We know the wide receiver room's solid. I'm trying to sell Christian McCaffrey on this roster in particular. I know Shano, appreciate you listening. We just did some business in, I think, the FFD1 league, maybe potentially possibly, but I think Matthew Stafford, Christian McCaffrey, Rico Dowdle are the guys that I'm trying to unload off of this roster to try to load up on the draft capital. That's kind of where I lean, because I mean, you're not in a position where you're gonna win money, but I mean, you could chance it. But I'm not selling picks to try to strengthen this roster to compete with the roster that we just showed on the screen.
That's perfect logic right there, Chev. You can go halfway through the season and hang on to Christian McCaffrey and see what happens, and see if everything else is going right. You could go win money for sure, but not giving away draft picks next year to add one player here or there and try to compete with that big dog team. I love that answer, Chev. Don't give away your draft picks. I was, try to make some more draft picks out of Stafford, and I like the Rico Dowdle call out. I'd give him a minute to start playing ball, because I think obviously Jaylen Warren is good, but I think Rico Dowdle could go over there and become more valuable. So I like that call a lot, to not use your draft picks right now to try to catch up with this other superpower team.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's already given away his 21st this year. And there's already this is a tricky spot because there's already some teams down here at the bottom. If you look, that this guy's he's got somebody's first already. Cooper Gary, he's a rebuilder. This guy doesn't have any of his first. Miss New Booty, Levis, he's got his first still. But this guy's got 3 firsts already. 2 dads, 1 team. And then Boomer Bust, he doesn't. It's only a 10-man league. He doesn't have his first. So like, you're probably most like, how are you prying the first out of these other guys' hands?
Okay, 10-man league makes it a little bit easier to understand how this guy got so good.
Yeah.
So I guess where you guys are going. I'm kind of with all that. You can't just throw your hands up and completely surrender and be like, well, I'm just we just got to bide our time and wait. But like unfortunately, what is Justin Jefferson? If he bounces back and by the end of the year, do you try to sell him for a king's ransom?
Yes.
Christian McCaffrey probably needs to be on the move, and like, are you guys trying to pare down to the point where you're trying to get the best draft picks you can get, or are you just kind of, because this team seems like it could certainly get hot and win some first, second, third money, but it seems like you're probably most likely going to be middling.
Yeah, that's my point, and I don't want to be the 106, 107 with my best asset, aging out and only worth that to my team or a contender that I'll have to sell for 60% of what he's actually worth. I'd rather just let him die on my roster. But by doing that, I'm preventing myself from getting into the draft. I already don't have my first round pick, so I'm not getting a quote unquote premium asset or something that could get me another good player. So it doesn't make a ton of sense to me to try to sell picks to try to get out in front to compete with that team. If football tells you that, hey, it's our time, it's our year, then you can make adjustments, you can do whatever and move things around, maybe move one of those younger assets, maybe move Ibuka if he's not 15 points a game, if he's like 11, you sell to a young team for, I don't know. But right now, I'm not going all in. We talked about this last week, Casey, where I was like, where we were talking about one team, and I said, well, if I want to set a direction, I'm gonna go buy Christian McCaffrey for this team because I've got a few first round picks. I'll send a 27 first, but I think I'm gonna win money. If it's gonna win me money, and you were like, I might hold off on that. And I think there's merit to both ways that we were playing it.
Sure.
I think for this one, I 1000% for this roster with the context of this league, I don't do that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't sell any kind of first, any kind of capital in the next 2 years to try to get better unless I come out and I'm top 3 in points scored and I'm 5-0 after 5 weeks or something like that. And or just you're competing and your team is outperforming your expectations.
Yeah. So to me, let's hunt for first. Let's try to figure that out. Let's how can we do it? And if we can't, what we need to do is we need to turn our attention to the seconds, and we need to stockpile the seconds. Because if you can't get the firsts, then we're going to go after the twos, and we might have to and shoot for or 28 firsts, right? Because like, hey, it stinks, and it seems like the way the league's built and stacks, a couple of the crappy teams got some people's firsts, and their attention is all turned to there. So it's like, hey, if that's not working for you, turn your attention to the twos. I've had a ton of success stacking multiple twos in there. It helps you move around the draft if you want. Stop getting rid of your own picks. Hold on to those for the most part. And, if you can get 3, 4, 5 second round picks because people aren't as crazy about them because it's a second round pick and everyone's just eyeballing the first, then pivot to those seconds. And dude, there is so much value in second rounders in almost every draft, right? Where especially if you have the ability to be able to move around and pick the spots that you want to kind of be in, I think that's a really just other way to kind of just slide under the surface. You got a decent, okay, little squad here, and your receiver room is where the bulk of your, you know, all your value is for the most part, and you should be able to get something from dude. One of these contenders should, even if you don't sell now, one of these contenders should give you a first for CMC, or like finding a way, or like a young player and a second and a third or something. So like right now, I'm just hey, if you don't want to give me these high end picks, I'm just going to be squirreling away all of these other little bits and pieces I can get my hands on, and then moving to the 28 first too, because it's like you guys said, this is gonna be a really tough sledding to get in here and you know, smash your way into a winning spot with a couple of these teams, especially the top dog there. And you know, like you said, Big Co and you know, Matthew Stafford and Christian McCaffrey, Rico Dowdle, Michael Pittman, and even if you have to pair like a Michael Pittman with, you know, even somebody like a Chris Bell or a Josh Downs to you know, kind of get a little bit better value on what Pittman will give to somebody, like that's okay. Like I'm gonna probably, you don't, none of your tight ends are super valuable right now, so like I'd be okay with just completely tearing down that room if I could, but like you're not gonna really get anything for those guys for the most part. So that's what I'd be doing. And then in all those trades, when I'm doing that, like I'm just going to be trying to acquire more and more kickers in those trades over the, you know, like Keaton Mitchell is just somebody who I always sticks in my head as like 2 years ago and the last year, where somebody who was be like, that'd be the kind of guy I'm always trying to go. Also, like in these deals, can I squeeze one more and just build out some depth of those kind of guys that could increase in value? Pick up the random quarterbacks that we've been talking about, right? In there, get the Milrose of the world, get the Levises of the world, get the, you know, and maybe those guys aren't even rostered right now because this is a 10-team league, and but you know, be able to just find, you got to find ways to just win little value wars that could sit on your bench and increase in value, and then find ways to just like I said, the second round pick right now would probably be where I'm going, just because it seems like you're going to run into a lot of resistance of trying to get first outside of for Christian McCaffrey from a contender. So
yeah, I like that. But like, especially like the Michael Pittman part, you could probably get a second and another wide receiver that was drafted in the late second, early third round this year for Pittman. You know, you could get a second round pick and the wide receiver to the Bills, you know, and who did the Bills get, Casey?
Skylar Bell.
Like Skylar, you know, you could get Skylar Bell and a second round pick for Pittman right now. So, you know, you can start stacking those kind of trades up.
Yeah, like Trey Harris doesn't have a lot of value right now. He'd be somebody who I'd be, you know, when I'm trying to get a deal done, I'd be trying to like, what's Trey Harris worth to this particular fella here, right?
Hey,
you know,
what's your value on Trey Harris?
Jack Besh is another. This guy just happens to have him on his team. Like, no value, but like that room's wide open. You know, that could be, he could be somebody who could increase. So like, yeah, I'm just going to be trying to find clever ways to just build value behind this, and then all of a sudden I'm gonna hop out and be like, surprise, bitches, I'm here. That's right. All right, let's wrap this one up. Appreciate everybody. We will get to the questions that are left in there, whether it's on a regular show or another stream this week. And worst case scenario, we'll be back next week. Please use the queue. Roster reviews on the way. Appreciate Chev and Big Co for sticking it out here. If you've come on this long, like little clunky to start this week, sorry about that. I'll clean it up. I promise. But make sure you're checking out the website. A lot of good tools, a lot of good stuff on there, personal rankings and the swipes and all that good deal. Appreciate all you guys out there and everybody who participates in these live shows. It's certainly one of my favorite things we do. I look forward to the live show every week. The only things I do get bummed about is when we trip it up a little bit from scene to scene, or so eventually we'll get Jason's bum ass editing these while we're doing it, and I don't have to do it. But we got a lot of things we're working on at the FF Dynasty, so everybody's wearing 6 hats right now. So until next week, Casey, Chev, Big Co. Here, there you go. There's everybody.
There they are.
We'll see you. Peace.
Alrighty.